Okay. First order of business, let's see if Twitch works, since it wasn't working last time. Hey, I think I fixed it. How about that? Alright, that's good. I made a few adjustments, so... Yeah, alright. So I think Twitch is working alright. Let me check the other ones. And see what we got going. I'm not like streaming Valorant again, am I? No, I think it's good. Cool. Finally. Alright, well that's fixed. And there's me on YouTube. My god, I think things are actually working today. That's incredible. Well, Twitch says that it's unstable, but it's coming through. So I don't know. I don't see it like skipping or anything. I see everything, like the TV's moving and stuff. I don't know. I guess we'll just let it fly and see what happens. Alright. Oh, I just paused that to save some bandwidth. Okay. And now I need to do the social media duty here. Now I can actually put the Twitch one in. Hopefully it's okay. There she goes. Alright. And Twitter, which is going to throttle me for links, but at this point I don't even care. There it goes. Send her out. Okay. Yeah, let me copy that one. Okay. Game Jolt is out. And then finally to Discord, where I get to ping everyone and spam their inbox. I love how when you paste something into Discord, it just loses all the spacing and everything. So it's completely screwed up. Here, alright, whatever. Yay, okay. Alright, I think we might be okay to start. I think everything's done. Let me double check. That's working. That's working. That's working. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, alright. And I paused everything to save a little bandwidth. Alright, we can turn the thing off. We're ready to go. Hello, welcome. I'm back. I was off last week. Trying to figure out. I think I was just sick or tired or whatever. Which I kind of was this week, but I slept today, so an extra nap to make sure I was kind of up and ready. How am I doing? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, pretty much I'm doing okay. I feel like I've been really tired this week, kind of worn out, but let me get this stupid phone out of my pocket. Put it over here. It's messing with me. So yeah, I'm here. I don't feel like super with it, but we're good enough to be streaming. I'm gonna do kind of, I don't know. I think it's light work to do like a little bit of spriting stuff and then implement that. So last time we had stream, we did like the enemies when they blow apart. we did the sprites for that, and I'll pull that up so you can see it here. If I can find where all my stuff is. Let's see. Game, enemies, chainsaw. Let's see, pieces. There we go. Because I did change a couple things. So here, let me take it over. Okay, good. That's working. I did change a couple things since the last time we did it. So I've got the outline of the character behind it, because what I ended up doing was rearranging the pieces in the parts that they came from here. So let me make this even more transparent and easier to see here. I'll turn down the volume on my end. That was a little loud. So here I kind of tried to roughly align the pieces and where they would be on the body of the character. And then the generic pieces just got put in the middle. And there's a reason for that, to keep them in the middle. One, because they don't really belong to any one part, so it's okay if they just kind of blow up from the middle. And the other reason is that they will be reused for when you hit an enemy with a weakness. I want to make it so that little bits of metal fly out. And that's what these kind of little generic ones are for. And they have to be centered because it depends on where you hit. You know, if you hit the enemy, like on the top, I want these little things to spawn where the hit occurred, and they fly out at that point. And to do that, they kind of have to be centered, because that's where the pivot is, the centering of the actual sprite. And yeah, so let me know if the Twitch is working all right, because we haven't been able to stream on Twitch for a couple weeks, or well, more than a couple weeks, because I've been kind of off and on with the health thing. But I think I fixed it. It said it was live, and then it said it was unstable, but then it was okay. So I don't know if it's still all right or not. I hope it is. So, but yeah, that's the idea, that the big notable identifiable pieces, those are going to be aligned roughly like where they are on the actual character. And I think that kind of works out a little better, but I want to tweak it a little too, because I think now, before it looked a little strange, like when the head would come out from the center of the body, but now it almost looks like it's aligned too much. And I'll show you what I mean here. Oh, I got double music going on. Here, all right. I get the controller. If it'll sync, look at it. It's just sitting there, blinking. I gotta wake the little dongle up, and then there we go. Now we're good. I'm back in the test area. I actually put a camera zone here so you can actually see it again. And yeah, we wanna go over to here, this guy. So see how he falls apart? It looks kind of cool because they're kind of like aligned, so it looks like the parts are kind of where they're supposed to be. But there's almost, it almost looks like there's too little energy. So you see how he kind of crumbled? I feel like it needs a little more oomph to it somehow. So I'd like to adjust that. See, it also depends, because the amount of force that each particle gets is a little bit randomized. So sometimes it looks more forceful than others, but I think there could be a little bit of a nice rubber banding effect if we adjust the sprites inward a little bit. And so that's what I wanted to try here. I wanted to move them so they're roughly like where they are, but they're going to be inward a little bit. What happened? How come I'm grabbing everything all at once here? So I kind of move them in a little bit, kind of scrunch them in. Not completely, but just enough that they're sort of just there, right? Okay, I screwed something up. I gotta undo all that, because these should not have moved. So, okay, let's try that again. Push that in a little bit. push this one in a bit. This one in a bit. So they're still roughly aligned, right? Okay, and these ones stay in the center because again, they need to stay that way. And then we're going to export that over again. Which that should be the proper one here. We want only the sprite group. We don't want all the other stuff in there. And that should be okay. And then it's gonna ask if we want to overwrite what's already there. And yes, that's fine, we agree. And they're here in the folder. It looks like everything made it. Yeah. I think, right? Yeah. And so now we're gonna open up the texture packer here and verify that they're in here, and they are. Put them in the sheet. Oh, sorry. And I think we can just export them. I think everything here is good. Replace the existing file, and then we'll go to Unreal, and we gotta find his thing here. Chainsaw, that's his name. And here's the sprites here. So we're just gonna drag in the sprites file, and then it looks like it worked. And we will give it a go and see what happens. Okay, now that I'm playing in the editor, you're gonna notice a lot of choppiness in the frame rate and a lot of debug messages. Yeah, because I'm back on the Windows version of Unreal, because unfortunately the Linux one's not working too well. But I would rather, be able to program anything at all than it be smooth, I guess. So that's sort of the trade-off here. It working at all is great. So yeah, let's check here. So it's gonna look a little choppier, but hopefully we'll still get a pretty good idea of what it looks like. I mean, we can always make a release build and check it that way, and we might do that in a second. I still feel like it's better. It's better because it's kind of like it comes in and it goes out. It's really fast because it's only one frame, where they spawn in. And then you've got the big explosion effect that's kind of overlaying them. But I feel like it still needs a little more oomph to it. And I don't think that we can get that from displacing the sprites anymore. I think we'll have to actually adjust the values of the trajectories being involved here. So, let me, hold on. I just want to rearrange something here in my other monitor so I can see. And I'm just gonna double check, see if we're still all right. Yeah, looks like we're still rolling. Looks like everything's streaming, everything's up. Okie dokie. I'm just a little paranoid about the, oh, somebody give me a charge sticker. Well, thank you. Beef Gravy. Beef Gravy Studios. Well, thank you. That's on Game Jolt. You can go to Game Jolt, and that's where the project's, homepage is. And that's not if, but when a demo drops or a release will drop, that will be the place where it's going to be uploaded. So you might as well go over there and you don't have to register. It would be cool if you registered, because Game Jolt's a nice place, and it'll help you keep track because you can save games to your profile and stuff. And there's other fan games on there too that are nice. But you don't have to register. It's not forced. You can just bookmark the page and let it roll. Anyway, where is here? I want to close this. So, I think, notification. I think I want to try one thing here regarding the trajectories. I want to put a scaler on it, because I also noticed another thing. Now, this enemy doesn't have its own personal parts slapped onto it yet, but this enemy, when he blows up, he kind of looks pretty limp, and I think part of the problem here is that because his body is so big, when he blows up, it kind of like, it feels like his body parts don't go anywhere because he's already so big that like the images that pop out don't go far enough away from him. Where here, this guy absolutely looks like he's blowing apart because he's so small and he's got a little small explosion. So like it's scaled appropriately for that. And I think the problem here is that this guy is just too big. He's big and his explosion is big, and then the parts that come off of it just don't go far enough. And I think that's the other problem. So I want to change that, and we'll change that right now. Let's see. So we're gonna open up Chainsaw's blueprint here. Well, not that one. That's the little buzzsaw that comes out after he blows up. And so he's got, well, it's not going to be in here. It's going to be on the event where he is exploded. So, sequence finished, no. It's got to be here somewhere. Here's begin play, but that's not what we're looking for. Oh, you know what? I bet it's in his base blueprint. Because all the enemies are part of a base class that they kind of all the common functionality is in here. And I think it's on health fatally decreased. So basically when they go exploding, oh, I changed it, right, because I needed them to flash. Here, I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. I needed them to flash when they died here, and I'll slow down time so you can see it. Because they were exploding immediately. But see, where they need the flash and then explode, I actually had to put a little delay in there. Oop, I went to press the wrong button. Because I added the hit flash, as you probably saw on all the socials. So they need to flash before they explode, because it kind of was happening too fast, and they kind of needed like a little extra oomph to the explosion before it happened and the parts blowing up. Well, I'm not gonna make it. Well, now I'm stuck on top of them. Of course, I can't die because it's invincibility. Do you see how they flash white first? Well, they flash black and then they flash white. And that kind of gives it that little extra oomph, like they're getting overloaded and they're blowing up. Boom. And then the explosion shows up. Hello, is this still working? I haven't seen any messages in a bit. Oh, that's my wife. Suki Zero says he can see it. He said, okay, I was wondering too, but I think everybody was just being quiet. She sent me a GIF, but I can't see it here. I don't know if it'll show up. Maybe if I check it on... Okay, yeah, it shows up on Discord. Yes, I love you forever too, whatever... I don't know if that's Sasquatch or something. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with that. Hello, and good luck on the project. We need more games with the legendary Mega Man 7 style. It's great having you do this amazing fan game. Keep it up. Just keep strong and amazing. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying to stay strong. My health is kind of in flux right now, and part of it is because I'm also trying to do more stuff. And it's kind of like a balancing act. So I'll do more stuff and see how it goes, and then I feel bad, so I cut back, and then I kind of find somewhere in the middle. But then as I'm doing, I am recovering actively, so I keep trying to push the boundary and find out where I am. It often leaves me a bit more tired and worn out than I might otherwise be, but I think it's important for the recovery to also kind of see where my current boundary is and keep kind of push that, because, it's like, well, exercising, really, and, your body you push your body a little bit, not too much, just a little, and then you get used to it, and you can grow and go on from that. So it's that's kind of where I am right now, but it does come at the cost of like some days that I'm kind of just wiped out and stuff. So it is a Sasquatch. Yeah, I figured. Also, yeah, if you ping me, it doesn't like flash my window or anything if you at me. So like, unfortunately, that doesn't do anything. So I just got to kind of pay attention to chat and monitor what's going on. But I did add all the flashing, which I think worked out really well. So whenever you hit something, they flash now. They used to just disappear for a frame and then come back, which is kind of what the old games did, actually. But starting with Mega Man 7, they actually flashed them white. And it's like, you can't really tell here too well. You might not be able to see it on stream, but it doesn't turn completely white. Where the hell is my mouse? Oh, it won't show up over the game. That's weird. See? You can see it up at the top. But then when I scroll it down into the game itself, it's like disappeared. It's weird. That's strange. Well, I was gonna say, you might not be able to see it, especially because the screen gets darkened like that during pausing. But there's a little bit of detail. It's not completely solid white. There's a little bit of detail left in the sprite. And I'll try to get it on a frame here. Yeah, you can kind of see it here. Yeah, you should be able to see that. You can kind of still see a little bit of the detail in the character. And I think that was important for it to come off correctly. One, because then it doesn't seem too bright. It seems kind of like it's an appropriate level of brightness. But two, it's just kind of like the character's, I guess, features don't kind of disappear, you know, when that happens. Oh, Koi's brother, hey, welcome back. It's cool how the game is 3D and at the same time it's 2D. Yeah, it's built in Unreal Engine, so everything that you're seeing is actually like a 2.5D side scroller. It's just I rendered everything in a way that looks like it's legitimate 2D. So it works out. It works out pretty good. Glad to hear you're on your mend and glad to hear you are on the mend and starting to feel better day by day. That's the best way to go. Yeah, that's pretty much where I am. I mean, I've got a checkup tomorrow with the doctor, so we'll see what they say. You know, like I'm still under restrictions of like, don't lift too much, don't drive, can't do a lot of stuff. But we'll see if any of those restrictions get lifted. They definitely don't want me running yet, or jumping or whatever. They definitely told me not to do that. And I think for pretty obvious reasons that if I did trip, you know, or if I did fall because I was running or like I jumped and I tumbled or whatever, probably hitting the neck is not too great. I mean, it still hurts every day. Not like it used to, but it still definitely hurts. And I'm still taking like a low level muscle relaxer, and like when it starts to get uppity on me, I'll take some Tylenol. And thankfully, you know, that's kind of all I need at this point. It really, you know, if I irritate it, it can get pretty bad. But, you know, on a day-to-day basis, most of the time Tylenol and I take the muscle relaxer scheduled, usually in the morning because sleeping on it kind of irritates it. And then when I wake up, that's kind of when it hurts the most. Unless I do something to irritate it. And, you know, like throughout the day. And that's when I'll take the little muscle relaxer and I'll take the Tylenol in the morning usually. Sometimes I don't need the Tylenol. Sometimes I don't even need the muscle relaxer. Sometimes I'm okay, because sometimes I'll forget to take it, and I'll be okay for a while. But I feel like if I don't take it in the morning, then it'll definitely get more irritated later in the day too. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little weird. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't have to take nearly as many pain medications as I used to, and that's really good. Not only because, I guess, obviously you don't want to take a lot of high-power pain medications for a long time, which is not good. You know, even just from the standpoint of like it being addicting or whatever potentially. which, that's scary enough as is, but also just, in general, slamming down medications like that for a long period of time, not good. So I always try to do the minimal if I can get away with it. And thankfully that's been working and that's been paying off. Excuse me. So yeah, and that's like really good. Obviously I don't need the high power medications anymore. It really tells you that it is definitely getting a lot better. So yeah, that's all good news for sure. And I'm very happy about that because I'm the kind of person that doesn't like taking pills very much. Only if I like really need them, So it just kind of bugs me. So this is my little test area here for the other thing we added was hit stop. And so what hit stop is, I'll slow the game down so you can see it. But notice how it stops. Like when the impact happens, it stops. Now, at normal 60 FPS, it stops for 2 frames. But I have to slow it down so you can see it. And you'll really, really get a sense for it. Because if you watch like how fast it shoots without hitting something, and then you go and then shoot something with it, and then you can see how it kind of stutters when it hits it makes an impact. And that pretty much is more of just like a player feedback and just kind of a good detail to help sell the power of what's going on. The fact that it's impacting and slamming into something and then blowing through it. That little stutter really helps sell that. And you can, this regenerating block really like shows you, how it goes. You'll see it. Just stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. So it's really cool. I like the effect. And of course, this also tests my particles. To kind of see them all flying around. Which thankfully, the performance of the game, now we're in the editor, so the performance is really bad because there's so much heavy editor stuff going on, but like, if I pull this out and make like a shipping build, like it's crazy fast now. I did a lot of optimizations over the last few months. Now on Steam Deck, which is kind of I'm using that as sort of a target platform, right? To say like, okay, if I can get it working really good on Steam Deck, then most people will be able to play it very good. Right now on Steam Deck, it is a rock solid 120 FPS, and that's as high as I can test because that's as high as I can get it to output. I've heard reports of some people being able to get 240 hertz connected to a monitor that can do it, but I have a 240 hertz monitor here. And it did not give me that option. So I don't know what you have to do to enable that. Because even the Steam Deck's page on Steam's website, because I was looking at the dock, I'm thinking, oh, maybe my dock doesn't support it or something. But even the Steam Deck's official dock that they sell, I think they said it only goes up to 120 hertz. So I don't know how people are getting past that. But if I unlock the frame rate and don't sync it to the monitor, it gets up to like 270, 250, 270, which is really good, which is a lot better than I thought. However, that's kind of an unreliable metric because it's kind of an unstable, because it's just going as fast as it can. So if I were to force it to go to like 240 FPS, it's possible that it may not actually be a stable 240, even though it's a little bit beyond that with the unlocked frame rate. So I don't really know how to measure it at this point. I can tell you that it's super rock solid at 120 FPS. And that was my initial goal was, hey, if we can get 120 FPS out of the Steam Deck, I think we're doing pretty good. And we blew past that by a huge margin. So I'm really, really, really happy about the performance goals being hit. And this is just the prototype. There's actually a lot of stuff in the prototype that is not optimized. So we should theoretically be able to get even better performance out of it. Now that's always a battle because you're gonna have, okay, we made some performance improvements, but then we have to add in some more overlays, and we got to add the boss in, and we got to add more features to the objects and the enemies and the platforming system and stuff. And so performance will go down the more features you add. And, then you can do some optimizations and get performance to go back up. And it's sort of a tug of war battle between that. The important thing to note here is that, yeah, okay, we've got 100 and 250 FPS, let's say, roughly on the Steam Deck. And that's great. It will go down as we add stuff, but the fact that we have such a gap between the 120 FPS, which was our goal, and the 250 means we've got a lot of leeway to work with. And that's really good. That's really good. We've got a lot of headroom to add a lot of stuff. And I'm pretty confident at this point that we're gonna come out with a pretty good performing game. It plays super rock solid, no frame drops, no nothing, even at 120, and that's at 1080p. So the Steam Deck's normally 720. It's a little bit. It's 800p. On the actual screen on the actual device, it's 800p. It's a 16 by 10 screen. But when you hook it up to a monitor, you can obviously go to like 1080. That's what I'm taking the measurements on. I'm not taking it on the portable, 800p. I'm taking it to 1080p, and it's still rock solid, crazy performance, like 250 uncapped. 120 FPS is just completely rock solid, no frame drops on nothing. Like, it's smooth. It's retro smooth. Like, it's really good. How do I wish to make the controls? I guess I don't quite understand that question. Do you mean like what would I change or add to the normal Mega Man formula, or what? If you could, I guess, elaborate on the question, I'll be happy to answer it. But I guess I'm not really sure what you're looking for. Game Boy style, GBA style, Super Nintendo, modern style? Yeah, if that's the question, kind of all the above. So I want to add a couple of things. I like in Mega Man 11 that you could just hit a button and Rush shows up. So that's really fun. Now, Rush has Jet and Coil in the original game. And so say that's like 2 buttons. That's going to be like the L1 and R1. And then I like that, so I want to add those buttons. I like when you switch weapons in Mega Man 11, and X7 did this like way back in the day. I don't know if X8 does this or not, but the right stick, being able to push the right stick in a direction and get one of the weapons is really cool. I'm not 100% sure how that's going to pan out, and that's because there are more than 8 weapons in the game. So, it's definitely going to have to be an analog input, because I think you're going to end up with like 10 or 12 icons that you'll have to be able to use the analog to finally move to select those. I really like that. I don't like the swap left and right buttons, but I understand that it's kind of a legacy thing, so I'll try to add them. Either in replacement of or in addition to the right stick, because I know a lot of people do like that feature, or they're used to it at least. I think that the right stick is a far better way to do it, switching the weapons, but I understand where for legacy purposes people might like the other. So I'll try to add that, but if I can only add one, I'm going to do the right stick, selecting the special weapons. And then let's see, Buster Shot, Weapon Wheel. Yeah, that would be the right second. Dedicated Rush Summon. I do like the dedicated Rush Summon, absolutely. I want to do 2 weapon buttons, so like Mega Man 8 and then Mega Man X4. And I think X5 and X6 also had this, where you could still shoot the Buster while you had another weapon equipped. And I think that's going to be vital to making the game flow better, because there are some weapons like it's really nice to have Black Hole weapon that's a screen clearing weapon, but I only want to use it like every once in a while, right? So I want to keep it equipped, just kind of keep it on the side and use the Buster for the normal actions. And then when I need it, I just want to be able to hit the button at a moment's notice and say, oh, screen clear, boom, blow everything up. I think that is a very, in general, that's a very important thing for a Mega Man game to have, even though they kind of don't do that anymore, which is really weird. I figured 11 would have done that, but I don't believe it does. And it really helped in X4, you know, because there's some weapons that have very niche uses to them, and you use them every once in a while, but it's not going to be what you're going to be using to kill every enemy in your path. And that's kind of the problem, because if you don't have the ability to set it on a separate button, then you got to keep pausing the game and switching the weapon and using the Buster, then switch back to the weapon you want for that one single instance of that dude. I don't know, may say he's above you and you're shooting upwards because the special weapon goes upwards. Then you have to go back to the Buster and pause the game and change your weapon again and go on. And it just kind of breaks the pace of the game up really badly. And so I'd like to not do that. I'd like to have it on an extra button. And then and allow you to charge and do all that stuff. So you can charge, you could fight like normal. And then in that instance, you're like, oh, I need to do the Pluto dash or throw a rock or something, you know, with Uranus's weapon. So like, I think that's very important for the flow of the game to have that kind of stuff. Yeah, X4, 5, and 6 do not let you charge while you have a weapon equipped, which I don't completely disagree with from a game design perspective, because it does kind of like make it a little more balanced between having a weapon and not, but I would not do that personally. I would let you still charge. So I understand why they did it, but I definitely am not going to do that. I'm going to let you charge and do everything you normally can do, and we'll go, you know, then you could use the weapon on top of it. For sure. I think I saw a mod, I don't know who that is, doing X8 16-bit and his right stick was clicking up instead of upright. Oh, yeah, for the right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on where they put, how they read the direction. So maybe it was not calibrated right. Not that he had to calibrate it, not that the player had to calibrate it, but the developer may not have calibrated it properly. That's more of a playtesting thing, just to kind of see if you get it right. It could also be a controller thing, where different controllers might have different kind of sensitivities, and maybe it just wasn't reading the same as the developer's controller. It'll make sense if you can't charge the Buster while holding other weapons. Where does your arm go? Oh yeah, no, you won't be able to do anything. If the arm is out, you won't be able to do anything with the other weapon. You have to wait for it to come back. Yeah, because it's the same thing. Like if you shoot and the arm's out, you can't use the Buster until it returns. Because yeah, like I said, your arm's gone. So that definitely, yeah, you can't shoot anything when the arm's coming back. Which is actually a huge nerf if you think about it. For as cool as the Mega Arm is, it actually is kind of limiting in that way. And you know, I try not to draw too much attention to it because sometimes you don't think about it unless someone mentions it, and I don't want to like bum people out when they think about it, because that kind of happened to me. Like one day I just kind of realized, I'm like, I love the Mega Arm and it's super cool, but it is objectively a nerf over the Buster in the sense of like the Buster can rapid fire while the charge shot's still on the screen. Like you can do other actions without having to wait for, you know, something to return back to you, but you kind of do with the Mega Arm, and just kind of physically, yeah, you don't have the arm anymore, you can't shoot, you can't do anything. So like it's kind of, you can't really change that, you know what I mean? It just kind of is what it is. But that's also another reason that I kept the resolution, or rather the aspect ratio here the same. Because there was some question from the team of it initially, be like, well, why don't we make it widescreen? And honestly, it's because of the Mega Arm is kind of a nerf. The problem was if you have the widescreen, the Mega Arm needs to go, not only does it have to be really fast in order to reach the end of the screen and come back in time, but the extra travel time made it so that you couldn't attack as fast again. Like you had to wait even longer for it to come back. And it was just kind of like, you know what? Let's just keep the game as a 4x3 and we'll just roll with that because it's not working. So that was one of the major reasons to keep it as a 4x3. And I think, you know, there's other advantages to it, even just from like a vibe and a presentation thing. One, you know, it vibes more like a Super Nintendo game because it's 4x3 like they were. And the other thing is it gives me the ability to have the border around there. And that's kind of a callback to the Super Game Boy. So when you play it on the TV, you can see that there's a Super Game Boy border for the game. And we can do stuff like that now. Like you see right here, it's just like a little like generic space wallpaper. That was something that Koei came up with quick. And so I've been using that as kind of the test background. But we can do like more advanced stuff with it. And I think we can sort of pay our respects to the fact that it was a Super Game Boy title by doing that. And I think that's cool. I think there's a lot of value in just kind of the vibe of things like that. But yeah, we did make a shipping build, right? Just now or no? Did we? Was that the last thing we did? Maybe not. Yeah, I think I was going to adjust the properties first before we made a shipping build to test it. So I got kind of sidetracked there, but that's okay. So yeah, what I was trying to say is because I was trying to explain the hit stop and the hit flash and all that stuff. Oh, excuse me. So I moved the code for the character blowing up and all that used to be here, but I changed it to a flag that says in the death sequence. So what happens when you're in the death sequence, when you get updated, it's also going to be updating the flicker time. So that's like when it flickers black and then white. That's what this is for. So we've got the flicker timer dark, and that handles the black frame. And then, and then when that's done, it'll see if you're in the death sequence, then we want to loop to the normal flicker timer and then feed it in the time that we want, which I think is 2 frames. So I think it's 4 frames total. I think it's 2 dark frames and 2 white frames. Yeah, so then we set the flicker timer. Yeah, it's 2 times. Yeah, if we're in the death sequence, then it's double time. If we're not, then it goes to the 1 frame. And then it goes up here, does this flicker time. Now, if we are in the death sequence, when this timer is over, then it will do the final death actions. Otherwise, it'll just revert the overlay color to nothing. Yeah, and then from here, we take 2 actions. We do all those spawning of objects. So death objects these are like explosions and things like that. And then there's the spawn destructible particles, and those are the bits of the pieces that get blown up. And here is where we're gonna have to change some stuff. So this set sprite goes to the destruction particle blueprint. And essentially, when it gets spawned, it goes through these couple of actions, like start the flicker timer, set the visibility, and then set the trajectory. I think the visibility is Not sure what the is visible is for. We set the sprite visibility, and I'm not sure why we have a boolean. Let's see, what does this thing do? It doesn't do anything? Oh wait, hold on. Okay, it does stuff in the derivatives here. Okay. Yeah, we saw that one. Wait, where's the search window? What happened? Where am I? Oh, over here. Yeah, let's put it over here. Okay, we set it there. Okay, it's just a parameter there. We set it here. Okay. I'm honestly not sure why we even have... Not even sure why it exists. Destruction part here, that's just a parameter. Set sprite visibility. Here. Oh, here might be something. No, that's a blueprint function library. That has nothing to do with this. Yeah, I honestly don't even think that this matters. This visibility variable, which is kind of funny in some ways. So let's see, all the times that the sprite visibility is set. You know what? I think I know why it's here. Because I can't read the sprite visibility from the sprite itself. Because it's a group of sprites. So they might have inconsistent visibility states depending on what might have changed them otherwise. So I think this is just kind of to keep track of what I think it was supposed to be at that given time. And then it gets inverted somewhere here. It gets inverted, invert the boolean, and then set the sprite visibility every frame. I think that's what's happening. Or well, on the flicker timer, which is essentially set every frame. Will there be a dedicated button for slide? I thought about that because the Mega Man Complete Works, which are the PS1 remasters that Capcom did, only released in Japan, they have a dedicated slide button. And I kind of like that, to be honest. Now, those games were ported somewhat. They were missing features, but they were ported to the PS2 for the American audience in the Mega Man Anniversary Collection. And I'm pretty sure there's a dedicated slide button in there, so I do want to add that. It's a good thing that you said that, because I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the other stuff. But yeah, I was definitely thinking about that, because I think it's nice to have. I think a lot of people are used to having a dash button from the X games, and even in, like, say, Mega Man and Bass did have his own dedicated dash button, but Mega Man didn't have his own dedicated slide button, which was weird, you know? So I think is sort of an inconsistency there that can be filled by having a slide button. And let's be honest, it's much easier to have a slide button than to have to worry about holding down on the controller, right? And to that end, you know, you could take it one step further and you can make an option to turn off the slide command by holding down. I think that would help some players for sure. Because Mega Man X does that. You can dash by double tapping forward, or you could dash with just the dash button. But I'm pretty sure later games let you turn off the double tap dash command. So yeah, I think it's good to have that option for sure. And it's not a big deal to do the button like that, because you could just command it to do the macro for you, or you could just kind of easily program it no matter which thing that you press it just triggers the same thing. So I think it'd be good, because I'll be honest, I kind of enjoy using it in the Complete Works games for sure. Yeah, and I do agree, like, I'm used to holding down and pressing slide, but it's kind of like the Castlevania thing. You know, pressing up and attack is fine for a sub-weapon. They didn't have a choice. They only had 2 buttons on the NES controller. Like, I get it. But when I go play Super Castlevania 4 and I have a dedicated sub-weapon button, it is so much better. Like, I can't lie. Just because I'm used to it, just because I'm okay with it, doesn't mean that it's, not frustrating to some other people. And it's objectively more consistent to perform with something with a single button press than having to do a direction combination. So, totally get that. I wish I could follow a guide to make a fighting game like Smash. Well, I definitely don't do Smash stuff. I really don't know how exactly they program games like that. I can take some educated guesses, but I haven't done it, so it's kind of hard. I think the physics are the big kind of thing there. Being able to have consistent physics for bouncing off the walls, like getting rocketed in a Smash game. Like, I couldn't tell you how to do that. Like, I have an educated guess, but I think that would be the big thing that I'd be concerned about, not giving good information. Mega Man Zero is a good example too of, like, they give you so many button so many button configurations. Like, you can change how the alternate fire button works, whether it actually fires a weapon, or you have to hold it and press the main button, or you just press it and it switches the main button to the different weapons. And that's the one I do. I do the switch. So I use the toggle. I put it on L. I keep my dash on R. I put the weapon switch on L, and I do the toggle version. So every time I press it, it switches between the two weapons. I find it really difficult to, like, hold both the buttons at once and kind of, like, brain charging both at the same time, so I just don't fool with that. I just switch it. Yeah, I use L1 for dash. I know that's the default, but I could never do it. And part of the reason why is because when X4 was out, either X4 or X5 was when I first started to realize pressing dash on circle on the PlayStation controller while you're holding square to charge, you're going horizontally across the controller, was kind of a really awkward thing. And I had never thought about it to change it to the R button. But dashing was so much easier when I changed it to the R button, keeping all my, like, action commands on the right side of the controller, and then it felt like that was easier to coordinate. And I just carried that over when Zero came out, and so I know that the dash was default on left, but I just couldn't do it. I had to switch it to the right, to the R1 button. Yeah, so, but that's why I'm always saying that, like, configurable controls through a menu in the game is non-negotiable. There is never, especially not now, but there really never was any reason to not allow that to happen, especially when the Super Nintendo was around. If your game did not have configure controls on a Super Nintendo, you were kind of doing something wrong. Like, that's kind of a letdown, to be completely honest. It's like, it's non-negotiable. If you don't have that, there's something like what's wrong with you? Because not everybody is going to play the game the same way, It's just not, that's just not how it works. You have to have some, at least a charitable level of configuration. Not only for, I mean, this might not be as much of a problem now, but even like back in the day, games didn't always use every button on the controller, and sometimes like your controller would wear out, or like one button wouldn't work so well, or it broke or whatever. And I had instances like that where being able to change the controls in the game let me avoid, say like my X button doesn't work anymore, or triangle on the PlayStation controller, and it's not that huge of a deal. I could set the other weapon to like circle or something, and dash can go to R1 or whatever, and I can avoid that button being out. Like, I don't know if that's as big a deal today, but I definitely had moments like that where it was a lifesaver because the controller wasn't working, or was broken, or something was wrong with it. Or say you play a game on the computer and like sometimes you plugged in, especially back in the day, you plugged in like an off-brand controller. You did not know what buttons were going to get mapped to what. And so having the ability to change those around was a lifesaver, because it's like, okay, if I was stuck with the default controls, then jump is triangle and shoot is X. And it's like, yeah, I can't play like that. That's like impossible. So it's really helpful to have that, for sure. Yeah, once you get that was me. I got used to the R1 and that's it. That's my dash button for life. I switched to R2 because it's just less stressful. Now it depends on the controller. Like this controller, this is a Wii U Pro controller, and they don't have analog triggers. I don't know if you can really see it here. They don't have analog triggers. They're just buttons. I find this much more comfortable to dash on R2. If it's a trigger button, but not an analog, but just a normal button. And that's part of why I like this controller so much. I think it's one of the best controllers out there. You got everything. You got the analog sticks. You got the, I don't know if you can see it. You got the analog sticks. You know, the D-pad's good. It's not the best in the world, but it's still a good Nintendo D-pad, which is better than like 95% of all of them out there. Like you got the home button. You got all the 4 buttons. You've got full, L1, L2. You got L3 and R3 quickie. Like you got the whole thing. This is a good all-round controller for pretty much like everything. And then if you want something special, like for a different kind of game, then like I like to use, I can untangle it here. I actually like to use the 360 controller for 3D games. I think that the analogs are really good. And I just kind of like the way the buttons are. And it's very comfortable. It's got the analog triggers. Very comfortable. And the thing still works. Works fine. I had the rubber had been worn off of the stick, so I had to replace the rubber. But they work fine. This thing doesn't drift. So these are fine. As long as they're clean, they work. They don't drift. So this is a good one to have. And then I got a PS3 controller too, which again, these do not drift. These are before the drift thing was a problem. But it's got everything. It's got the analog triggers, but I find it's a little awkward with the analogs kind of scrunched in the middle. So sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. That's good, but for 3D games, I kind of prefer this one. But if I'm just testing random whatever games, then this one does the job. So, hello and good night. Yeah, kind of. It is nighttime. So what's up? Well, we were talking about controllers for one, and controller configurations in games. But we're supposed to be adding some more functionality to this exploding parts thing. Yeah, I like the ports for Mega Man Zero. The ports on the Legacy Collection are the best way to play it if you want to play it stock. And you can mod the collection to use the arranged soundtracks, so that's an even better way to play it. Which I don't know. I don't think I've remodded it since I switched computers a while back, but I did. When I had it modded, it was really great, night and day difference. Like the way they did the arranged soundtrack was pretty much like it was just music like you could use in a game. Like it wasn't too experimental. If you could just put it into the game, it would work, and then that's exactly what people did, and it worked really good. So, quick question. Just for pure curiosity, are we going to see other playable characters as well, Proto Man Roll and stuff? I don't know. I want to say, yeah, that would be really great. We could look into that, but I guess the harsh reality is just getting the game done with one character is going to be quite a task. So I'm going to refrain from attempting to talk up a bunch of features outside of like the main base game. You know, if we get to the end and we're like, hey, it would be really cool to put a Proto Man thing in, and we think we can do it, and we've got the people and the resources to do it, that would be a different situation. But I want to make that decision when we're basically ready to release the first version of the game, like the whole complete 1.0. Here's the whole game, you know, and do it then. And then, you know, if I myself and the team feel like it's a possibility at that point, then we'd be ready to really talk about that. So I know it's not the most hype answer, but I want to be really realistic and real with you on that. So, but you're welcome. Yeah. You can't. It's 3 in the morning and you can't sleep. I feel that lately. Yeah, and that's the thing too, because it's easy to get sidetracked and say, hey, we're going to have multiple characters. And then we start doing graphics for the other characters, and that's taking time away from everything else. And then, you know, you can get to the point where you add so much optional stuff that you're not getting the base game done. And that's kind of where you get into development hell. So I wanted to prevent that from happening right from the beginning. And, you know, anybody that comes on to help us, I'm like, this is the stuff we're doing, and you know, basically don't just pick something and do it without like running it through me, because if you start going ahead and doing like all this other stuff, everything's gonna be a disorganized mess, and I won't know what anybody's working on. I won't know how to coordinate the whole project, and then it's kind of wasted time, because like, okay, well, you're making sprites for Proto Man, which we don't even know if we're going to have time to do, so you're kind of wasting your time, and you could be doing much more helpful things for the project, you know, in the meantime. So I kind of like, right from the get-go, I'm like, we're not making Proto Man sprites, we're not making base sprites, we're not making roll sprites, we're not doing anything like that. You know, we have to stick to what's the minimum game that we have to ship, and we'll have to only work on that kind of stuff at first. You know, and like I said, at the end of the project, we can reassess how we feel about it for sure. What did Restream Brat say? Yeah, I think we're crossing chats here at this point. Yeah, because the Restream bot, that's the service that I use for multi-streaming. It does send the chat messages from other chats into the other one, but it'll be coming from the Restream bot user, so it's kind of hard to keep track sometimes. I have sort of like an aggregate chat that I can see like everything going on, but yeah. Let's see. Yeah, feature creep. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Yeah, but that's basically it, because I think a lot of projects end up with that. We're like, oh, we're gonna have 10 playable characters, and then they make 5 of them, haven't done any like stages or bosses yet, and then now all of a sudden they're feeling the weight of having to support all the characters. Now, the only thing that I am doing ahead of time is I'm making the game in a way that can support multiple characters, so that if we do make that decision, I've kind of already laid the groundwork and programmed things to be sort of abstract enough that we can slide in another character object and it just works. So I'm thinking about that. That's always a good thing to do anyway, to kind of make an interchangeable system. But if you don't do that, you can end up having to redo a lot of work later to fix that. So I am kind of thinking in that direction, just in general. You know, so that if we do pull that trigger, that will definitely be something that'll be ready to go. And it doesn't take much to do that. It's just kind of knowing that that's a possibility and keeping that in mind as you program stuff. It doesn't really take that much extra time to do it if you kind of have that mindset from the beginning. So it kind of doesn't violate the we're doing too much extra work and not getting the other stuff done, because it just one, kind of always good practice to do that, and two, as long as you plan it, you're fine. Like, it's not going to take an extra month to implement that. Yeah, and that's a good point. Chat was saying about how to unlock stuff and to only have other playable characters when you finish the game first. That's exactly how I would do it if we do end up doing that. Because I feel like, one, you have a reward for playing and finishing the game, and then two, it's kind of like the other playable characters might be tweaked in a way that are sort of advanced, if you get what I mean. Like, say if we had Proto-Man, well, I want to do something with the shield, right? And I don't know exactly what I would do yet, if I would do it at all, we ever get to it. But I feel like in my heart, there's got to be something cool you can do with the shield. Maybe there's a parry system. Maybe if you press the shield button at the right time, you can reflect things back, or you don't take damage, or something like that. I would like to do something like that. But if that's the character that you're starting off playing at first, that's a pretty advanced kind of like experience to run into, to jump into that before you play the actual game and understand it. And so, like, from a design perspective, I would absolutely want to get it so that you play the game first with Mega Man, and you kind of get the more, I don't want to say simplified, but it compared to the Proto-Man run, it's probably going to be an easier and more straightforward experience. And now that the player has gone through the game normally, they kind of know what to expect. They have that experience, and they sort of are in practice now. Now you can say, hey, here's this other character with more advanced controls. If you think that's fun, try that. And I think that's a really good way to approach that. For that reason, I also really like when hard mode is not available right away. Because I'll be the bravado guy and be like, oh, I can take hard mode. I played lots of Mega Man games. I got this down, and I don't. I don't have it down. And I always end up, biting off more than I can chew, and I get in trouble with that. And I think a lot of people feel that way too. You think like, oh, I've been playing games for like ever since I was born. Like, oh, I can take hard, I can do this. And some games you can, and in some games you can't. Especially retro games. Usually hard mode is, well, it's hard for a reason. They weren't playing back then, and I won't be either in this case. So I in general, I definitely agree with that kind of get them to play the normal game, and then they can graduate to hard mode and other characters and stuff like that, for sure. But like I said before on stream, I think the twist in that argument is that if you have a secret code to unlock hard mode right away, I think that's okay. I think it shouldn't be available on the menu right away, but I think if you're hardcore enough to go into the game with some knowledge beforehand and say, hey, I've researched this game, I've looked up this game, I watched some videos, it looks really cool. I noticed, while looking it up, there's some codes you can enter. And at that point, I feel like that person who's gone through that sort of like investment already before even playing it might be a person that's more likely to make a good judgment call as to whether or not they like it, or to kind of understand what they're getting into and know that, I know that I'm skipping ahead by using this cheat code to get to hard mode early, and I kind of accept whatever's going to happen as a result of that. I think that is one way that you can break the system and it still kind of works. Because I think by gating it off as a research kind of thing, you've sort of narrowed down the scope of what kind of person is actually going to be able to get to that point and care enough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to use like the hardcore, I guess, label, because I think it's misused quite often, but two, I'm not sure that it's quite accurate in this case. I guess I'm not sure if I would consider myself a hardcore gamer, but at the same time, I think that I might be in that category of, before I play the game, I'm going to look up some stuff about it. I'm going to see what people are saying about it, and inevitably that's going to lead me to, oh, there's cheat codes. Okay, that's cool. What are the cheat codes? And I'll look at that. Oh, we can start hard mode, you know, without having to beat the game. Like, I think that the people in that mindset are going to be the ones that will be most likely able to handle the power and responsibility of starting hard mode early, if that makes sense. So I want to approach it from both of those angles at once. I think the person that's just going to casually download the game and just want to get into it probably shouldn't be tempted to go to hard mode first. They're probably not the kind of player that is going to fully comprehend what they're getting into ahead of time, if that makes sense. So I kind of want to do that. And we're going to, because the game's going to have save files, right? We're going to have the password screen, the traditional password screen. That's going to be where you can enter some of the extra codes and stuff. Because I think the password screens are cool and I want to use them for something, so I think that would be really neat. Game dev confirms softcore. Yeah, I mean, look, I sometimes I get the bravado and I'm like, yeah, I'm good player, I'm hardcore, and I'm not. I'm not that great at the games. I might be above average in playing them. But I feel like a lot of times, like when Mega Man 11, there was the original spec mode or something, and it was actually like hard mode level 2. It was like not the normal mode, even though kind of like it sounds like it was the normal mode. And I'm thinking like, oh, original spec, and that makes me think it's going to be like the NES games. Oh no! It is much harder than that. It is definitely harder than the NES games on original spec. So I went right for that, and like Tim, because I'm like, man, this game's hard, it's kicking my ass, what is going on? And Tim's like, well, what mode did you start on? And I'm like, original spec, of course. And he's like, oh, no. He's like, no, that's like hard mode 2, you don't start with that. And I'm like, well, why the hell did they call it original spec mode then? And it's just, they were kind of mislabeled, the difficulty options. And to be honest, like, it is really hard to communicate effectively what a difficulty is really going to be like if you haven't played the game before. You know, even it's like I played a bunch of Mega Man games and I still really don't know what I'm getting into when you have 5 difficulty levels on an option. Like, it's really hard to communicate that. Like, how you don't know what the other person knows, you don't know what their experience has been. So you can say like, oh, choose this if you're used to action games, or choose this if you just want to have fun. And like, that's fine, but it's still not descriptive enough. It's hard. You can't just psychically know what the other person has experienced to be able to really recommend that. And I honestly don't know if there's a good solution to that. I like to avoid the labels of like easy, normal, hard. Because I think there's both a stigma attached to that, but also like they kind of don't tell you much. Because what's normal in a Mega Man game is normal NES hard. So is easy normal mode? Like, take Mega Man 2 for example. You have normal, which was easy mode that they added into the game, which the Japanese version didn't have, and then you had hard mode, which was the original difficulty that the Japanese version had. So even then, it's not consistent, and they're not really telling the truth, so to speak. So like, yeah, I don't know. How do you rate that and communicate that? So on one hand, you've got Mega Man 2, they made normal mode easy mode, and Mega Man 11 made normal mode hard mode number 2. So it's like, I don't know. Where do you fall on that spectrum, you know? Yeah, I don't know, as far as like where it was, because I know the Japanese version, I don't think doesn't say original spec or something, or the English version didn't. It was something like, Tim was telling me that the descriptions, I think, for the difficulties in Mega Man 11 were different between the two regions. And then one of the regions made more sense, but I think that was a Japanese version or something. So I don't know. You'd have to ask Tim. It's been a while. The Japanese version is Newcomer, Advanced, Original Spec, and Expert. Yeah. So that would be what? Easy? Advanced would be normal? Or Newcomer's normal? Advanced is hard 1, Original Spec hard 2, and Expert's hard 3? And the USA was Casual, Easy, Normal, and Superhero. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. That's very confusing. So, okay, Casual and Newcomer makes sense. But then Japanese Advanced and American Normal were the same difficulty. Then Original Spec and... Japanese Advanced and USA Easy were the same difficulty. And then Original Spec and Normal were the same difficulty. And then Expert and Superhero were the same difficulty. So that was the thing. I went to normal. And that's like the third difficulty option. So in the Japanese version, I selected Original Spec. So there's Newcomer, Advanced, Original Spec, and Expert. Yeah. I hit the third difficulty option because it was called Normal in the United States version. Yeah. That was a confusion then. Yeah, and that's that was what Tim was like. Yeah, dude, you picked Original Spec. That's hard mode. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, it's wild. So again, yeah. So you get those weird like region differences, and I would not recommend starting off on Original Spec if you play 11. But that is so you bring up that changes the amount of lives that you have. I definitely like the idea of having different types of live behaviors between the different difficulty modes. I think that's a good thing to do, because like X8 had unlimited lives in easy mode. In normal mode, you had a guaranteed 2, but you could purchase up to 5 from the shop. And then in hard mode, you had to purchase every life you got, which I thought that was really interesting. I think that was kind of cool. Hey, Kiyang, what's up? You know, I don't know if I ever actually pronounced your name yet, and I hope I did that right. Kiyang? That makes sense, right? That's probably wrong. I'm terrible at pronouncing things. I apologize if I got it wrong, but welcome. It's made from mashing things together, not a real word, so don't worry about it. Fair enough. That makes me feel a bit better. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with the lives. I did write down some notes. And let me see. What did I write down? Because I was thinking about this recently. Oh yeah, so here was my idea. I wrote down some notes about the difficulty options. Here was my idea for the lives, because I don't think I was originally going to say you could have unlimited lives in easy, but I think that's a bad idea for a classic Mega Man game specifically. Or even in general, I think it's actually bad for X games too. And the reason for that is that, especially today, you're going to get a lot of gamers that are going to be in this Dark Souls mentality of, I'm going to grind against the thing I'm having difficulty with until I get it. The Mega Man games are not designed to be played that way. And if I had unlimited lives, I would fall into that. I would just be like, oh, I need to man up and I need to just beat this boss. I don't have the weakness, but it doesn't matter. I should be able to get him anyway. And Mega Man games are not supposed to be played like that. You're supposed to play a game, you're supposed to play a level and realize, yeah, this shit's hard. Or I'm not good at the platforming, or I'm not good at the combat. I'm going to go somewhere else to a different stage, because all the stages are supposed to have a different balance in what they have. Some are more platforming, some are more combat, and there's different ratios, different types of enemies to deal with. And the idea is that you're supposed to find the stage that you're good at, because everybody has a different level of skill and different priorities. So some people are better at the combat, some people are better at the platforming, and so on and so forth. And then you get a weapon or you get a utility that helps you with the other stuff. So think of like in Mega Man 1, you got the magnet beam that creates platforms that you can just keep moving. You can move over large pit areas, like Iceman stage, which is playing right now in the music. You have these huge, like there's the little propeller guys are going, and it's really hard to jump. They got a kind of weird random patterns and stuff. The whole purpose of Mega Man's design is that, yeah, I'm bad at that. I'm going to get the magnet beam and coming back and cheat that section because I don't want to do that. Or, you know, in the later games, I get Rush Jet and stuff. Rush Jet is not, they didn't just put it in and not think that you can just bypass stuff. They put it in there so you could bypass stuff. They put item 2 or 1? Which one is the one, the rocket board that's basically Rush Jet? Like in Mega Man 2, they put that in there so that you could get past Heatman's stage if you're not good at the random block patterns. That's the whole idea. The stages, the platforming has weaknesses the same way that the bosses do. I'm not good at fighting this boss, I have to go get the weakness. I'm not good at this platforming section, I need to go get Rush Jet and just go back past it. Or in some cases, Rush Coil can get you up to the top of a room where otherwise you'd have to go through a little spike pattern or something. That's the whole idea, is that everything has a weakness, even the platforming. So to give the player unlimited lives, especially in the easy mode, is doubly bad, because you're teaching them that they shouldn't think about switching to another stage. You're not forcing them to go to another stage. If you send them back to the stage select, they're going to think, wow, that was hard. I don't want to do that one again, but I wonder what this stage is like. And they'll eventually find one that they're good at. Or they'll grind enough money and power-ups so that they can get more of an advantage and go through. Like, that's baked into the Mega Man structure. So taking that away by giving them unlimited lives really just breaks the whole design of how Mega Man's supposed to be played. So I took that back after thinking about that, and you know, me and Tim discussed it, and he was vehemently against it, and I'm thinking like, yeah, I don't know, you know, whatever, but he made some good points like that, and I'm thinking like, yeah, no, I think you're completely right about that. Even as an option, I think it's just bad to put in, because I'm thinking like, maybe you can have a configurable difficulty thing and you can set different options and stuff, and I'm thinking, no, we're just not going to do that. Because it really does just break the design of the game. So I firmly believe in that. I really do. Let's see. Oh no. Oh, don't ask me that question. Okay, we'll come back to that. Hold on. Yeah, there is a sunk cost fallacy for sure. Yeah, you do get the sunk cost thing of like, I don't want to have to do this over again, and I'm at the boss, I might as well just bite the bullet and do it, yeah. I want to push back against that, even if you have the escape unit with the limited lives. So the comment was, you know, you can do unlimited lives if you have the escape unit. I honestly don't think that's enough, because if given the choice, the player's not going to use it. The player that's stuck in that mentality of, I have to get through it, I have to push through it, I have to Dark Souls this, they will look at the escape unit and they'd be like, I'm not taking the easy way out, I'm not quitting, I'm just going to do it. In some ways, as much as it sounds bad, sometimes you have to take away the option from the player, because they will not do it. They will not use it. And there's a lot of argument about things like that, but I don't say it maliciously. It's just the player tendency is just to not do that. And that's me too. I'm that player. If you gave me those options, I'd do the same thing. I'm not gonna wuss out. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna grind it till I get good enough to get through it. That's me. I'm designing for me. I'm not making a judgment on other people, like sitting up on my high off throne, throwing stones in glass houses. It's me. That's my mentality too. I get it. I'm there. I'm with you. I'm in your seat. But it is very true. There are some things you just have to take away from the player because, unfortunately, for their own good, you can ruin the experience by giving them the option to ruin it. And sometimes it's not enough to just leave the door open. Sometimes you just have to erase the door and force them to go back the other way. And I know not everybody likes to hear that, but it is unfortunately true that a lot of good game design is both leaving enough options for the player to explore, but also closing the doors where you know that they're going to get stuck on. Or at least most people. Like, not every player is the same. And some players will pragmatically look at it and be like, oh, well, it's a Mega Man game. I can go to other stages. I can do this and that. And that's great. Some players can recognize that, but that's not going to be a lot of them. And you're going to get a lot of people hung up on it, and they're going to get frustrated after a while if they can't finish it. And they'd be like, this game sucks, or this game's too hard, or those games, whatever. And that's it. And in my opinion, when the player reaches that point, and they didn't have to reach that point, and you didn't put anything in there to mitigate that, that's kind of a failed design, unfortunately. And so I'm going to try to not do that. I mean, you can't count for everything. But I think you can think of the average player. If you really understand your player base, you can put yourself in the mindset of the average player who's going to play the game and be able to identify those I don't know, what do you call it, rough points, or those traps. We'll say traps. Those traps that players can fall into. And it's your job as a designer to kind of not let that happen to a degree. And that doesn't mean like easy mode. That doesn't mean like water down the game. It's not about the difficulty. It's about the player mentality and getting them out of situations that they're going to keep themselves in and kind of ruin their own experience. You know what I mean? Rough patches. Yeah, that's probably what I was thinking of. So yeah, and to summarize specifically, I really don't think Infinite Lives works even with the escape unit for that reason. But yeah, I want to briefly answer the question before. What do you think of Mega Man 9 and 10? And I know this is a side tangent. I'm gonna answer this really quick. I am a big Mega Man 9 and 10 hater. I don't like those games. I think there's some good parts of the end. I think that the levels are particularly well designed. I think the Robot Masters are really cool. I think the music's really good. But they took away Slide and Charge, and I will never forgive them for that. They took away some of the most divining, fitting, and evolved features out of the entire franchise and just erased them. And I really don't know why. There's no good excuse for having done that. And the only thing I think because Mega Man 9 was very Mega Man 2 pandering, if they really just took that way too far and said, well, Mega Man 2 didn't have Slide and Charge, and that was fine, so we're just going to take it away. But then they add Proto Man mode in and give Proto Man Slide and Charge, even though he's never exhibited, like, he's had Charge, but he never exhibited the ability to slide before. And it's like you took Mega Man's iconic moves and moved them to a second character and took them away from Mega Man, instead of giving Mega Man his moves and giving Proto Man a specific gameplay style for himself that was even more inventive and different. And I just can't get behind that. So I really, I don't like Mega Man 9 and 10 for that reason. I rarely ever replay them. In fact, with my wife, because I was just going through, because she's like, I've never seen Mega Man 9 and 10. I've never seen you play them. I'd like to see them. This was literally this week. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really like them. That's why I don't play them, but I'll show them to you. I'll play them for you. And I just started, and she's like, wow, those games are pretty unfair. Like, 10 was okay, but 9 was actually really tough. And I was having some difficulty with it. And she's like, yeah, I can kind of see like you can't really do much. You can't slide, you can't charge. Like the whole pace of the game feels much slower. Like, you know, when I watch you playing Mega Man 7, it just seems like there's a lot more interesting things going on and stuff. I'm like, yeah, I feel that playing the game. You know, I'm always sitting there and I'm instinctively holding the button to charge, instinctively trying to slide, and it's like there's no acceleration. You can't get out of tight situations. If you're already in it, you're just screwed because things are just going to happen and you're not fast enough to move out of the way. You can't duck under things anymore. Like, it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm a big hater on those. I think 10 is much better than 9 in many ways, but it's still without the charge and slide. I don't like it. I don't want to play them. And I'll still play Mega Man 2 because like at that point charge and slide didn't exist. So it's like, you know, by default you have to give it to them. They didn't invent it yet. But once you can't go back. That's like if you had Mega Man X and you have dashing and then they just decide in Mega Man X9 that they're going to take away the dashing. You can't do that. You can't go back like that. You open the can of worms. You can't put them back. Cat can't go back in the bag. So don't do that, please, God. I think objectively Mega Man 9 and 10 are not bad games in their own little bubbles, but when you compare them to the rest of the series, taking all of that away, because remember, Mega Man 8 was the game before that. You had 2 buster buttons. You could use the weapons while you use the buster and still charge. You got the slide. You got all these power-ups. You could get different charge shots. You could get all this other stuff. They took all of that away. No charge, no slide, barely any power-ups, no different weapons, no multiple weapons at the same time, no nothing. Like, they took everything away. I was devastated. I couldn't believe it. So big hater on those. Not a fan. Music's really good though. I like the music in them. If you lose your life, you have to restart the entire fortress over? I don't remember that, but that sounds awful. That sounds terrible. Truly the game design of all time. Yeah, that's bad. I don't remember that. I'll tell you though, I didn't even get to the fortress when I was playing it for my wife. Because she's like, I would start struggling. She's like, you don't have to do this. I'm already like checked out of this because it's not very interesting. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Thank you. We played 10 and I did get to the fortress on 10, but that was as far as I got. I kind of got sick of it at that point. I think it was Eagle Raptor implied in a video. Back then there was no book on game design. Oh, like way back when Mega Man 2 and all that? Yeah. Game design was often learned from copying each other and adding their own spin. Yeah, and I feel that too. I do the same thing, you know. I think of like, if I were to make my own platform game, I would want to make something kind of like Mega Man, not the same thing, but I would want to innovate and bring in other innovations from other games and throw it together for my own shooting things action game. I would love to do something like that. For sure. But yeah, that's my thing about Mega Man 9 and 10. Not a fan, and I want to like them. I swear to God, if someone like just ROM hacked them and add the charge and slide, I probably would play them. But yeah, no, you can't do that to me. Yeah, game design is still kind of like that, you know, you work on something established. Because let's be honest, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've had like 30, 40 years of games to look back on and to know there are some things that reoccur for a reason because they work very well and they're a good foundation for things. And, you know, you can say, I want to make an athletic platformer. There's no getting around studying Mario. When you do that, you're going to play Mario and you're going to pick up things from it because it is world class in its genre. You know, you can't avoid that. It just is what it is. I thought a ROM hack did exist for sliding at least. Oh, now that's interesting. That puts a whole new spin on it. I'll be honest. If you were going to take one of the two away, I would be much less angry if they took charge and not slide. Because, at least, you have the mobility to escape things. I could kind of maybe live with that, perhaps. But you can't take both. Man, you just can't take both. Well, yeah, as far as the 8-bit, for the 8-bit graphics style, honestly, it's because at that point, Mega Man was hitting its point where Capcom was not comfortable giving it a large budget. I guarantee that's why it ended up that way. So I don't fault them necessarily for the graphics. I would have preferred something like Mega Man 8 or Mega Man 7, especially, obviously, as you can tell, I'm a fan. But I do understand where they may not have gotten approval if it wasn't cheap to produce. And if it means that either make the game with 8-bit graphics or the game doesn't get made at all, I'll take the 8-bit graphics. I don't like it. I think there's too many games, especially like fan games, that are all doing 8-bit graphics. I'm just absolutely sick of it. But in retrospect, like if I really liked Mega Man 9 and then I was told that in a different timeline they tried to make it with Mega Man 8 graphics and it got denied and they didn't make it at all, I'd be like, okay, I'll take the 8-bit one. You know what I mean? Well, so Slide was in the game and they just turned it off and you put a cheat code in to turn it back on. That is funny. That is legitimately hilarious. I'm gonna have to look that up. I really want to look it up. Does it work on the Legacy Collection? Because that's kind of the most accessible version. If it works on that, I definitely would apply that patch. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, no. Yeah, if you could, it's only for the Legacy Collection too? Okay, that's fine, because that's the version I would play anyway. This version I would play. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I was gonna say, just drop me a link in a DM or something. I definitely want to try that out. Did they do it for 10 as well, or just 9? Because I would like it for both, for sure. I mean, you know what's wild to me, and I hate to get off on another tangent, but I don't know if you... I'm sure some of you guys know, because Protodude did a whole article about it, and they released a build. They, for whatever reason, they found a beta build. Not a beta, I shouldn't say beta. That's kind of the colloquial term for anything that's like a prototype or in development. But that's not really what beta means, but that's a whole other discussion. They found an in development build of Mega Man 10 that had online multiplayer, and that they didn't even mention it in any kind of promo or anything. They completely scrapped it and shipped the game as if it never existed. And they found an in development build from it, and they reactivated it and they got it working. And I'm like, it sounds like complete made up BS. There's no way this can actually be true. There's no way they built an entire online co-op and then just didn't ship it. But that's exactly what happened. Can you imagine that? Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I can understand the difficulty of, maybe they couldn't get it to work right, or maybe it just didn't work out design-wise, for the co-op stuff. But to just scrap it and it's done, and there was no hint of it, and they didn't say anything, and nobody had even the slightest clue that the game originally had co-op multiplayer through the internet. Online co-op multiplayer. And it just works. It was just there the whole time, and we didn't know. Oh, okay, so the guy who made the slide patch is the one who made the online thing work. That's funny. That makes a lot of sense, too. That's very funny. That's cool. So it has a bonus feature where you stand close to each other and you get a charged version of the boss weapons. That is so cool. I would have killed for that. The only thing I can think of is, one, it broke too many things and they couldn't fix it in time, or it was just becoming a nightmare. Like, it was just feature creep and they couldn't contain it. Or it's possible that, especially back then, the internet wasn't as good. And maybe when they're playing online, they're like, there's too much lag. This kind of shitty. It's really hard to play with the lag. And it's just not worth it to do it. And those are the two things that would come to mind first, is to think like the normal things that might cause them to abandon a feature like that in a Mega Man game specifically. But like now, internet's a lot better. Lag's not quite as bad, so maybe it works better than it would have. I'm just taking a guess, but Do you think it was more about the server infrastructure? I can believe that. But yeah. So that's my Mega Man 9 and 10. I'm not a huge fan. I really like the soundtrack to Tundos. Mega Man 10 has some of my favorite music in the whole franchise. The Wily Stage 1 is good, but Wily Stage 2 is even better. That might be one of my favorite Fortress themes in the entire franchise. Like it's so good, so pumped. The arranged version especially, that is one hell of a track. That is absolutely great. I put that one on all the time when I'm working on stuff, which is what I should be doing right now. But it's okay. I like chatting. It's fine. I've been kind of gone for a while, so I guess we're all kind of catching up now, right? We're all getting back in the groove. But I do kind of want to fix this too. So, what is this one? Where are we here? Oh, these are the destruction parts. Yeah. We were looking up what the hell this is visible did, but we're keeping that. It is important. What I want to do is I just want to make a scale. So when we do because we're doing set sprite right now, which goes here, but I want to add a scale function to it. And that way we can make the parts scatter faster, farther, things like that. And let's see, so when we spawn, that's when this stuff happens, right? On actor spawn, we reset the health, we turn off the flicker timers in case they were on, we clear the overlay color, and we uncheck the death sequence. No, this is for enemies, I'm sorry. We want the destruction part. I'm sorry. I mean, that was all true for enemies, but here on actor spawn, we turn off the flicker timer because it does flicker on and off every frame. We make sure that it is visible by default. I'm actually thinking about making this randomized, actually, because it would be kind of cool if one frame you see, it kind of goes back and forth. The old games did that too, to save rendering time. Any kind of like particles that would flicker, it would make half of them would be on one frame and then half of them would be on the other. And we can actually do that like right here super quick. Get random bool from my RNG system. Boom, and that's it. Done. That's it. It's done. It's randomized. And then we set the sprite visibility, and we set the sprite trajectory, and this is the function that needs to change. This one right here. This needs to have a parameter that can have a multiplier passed into it. The thing that makes Mega Man 7 shine is how you use the weapons to interact with the stages, and that's amazing. Yeah, because this is a remake, I don't want to get too off track from what the original game had, so I'm going to be very careful about adding things. We're definitely adding things, but I want to be very respectful of the original in a way, and not just make like a new game with the same name. So I don't know how, like, if I would go that far as to like come up with a whole stage interaction stuff, but if I was making an original Mega Man game, you know, not a remake, I would absolutely be doing stuff like that, because I think that would be really cool. And I mean, I have an idea for something like that, but whether I'll ever get to it, who knows. Of course, I could say that about everything. I've got an idea how to make an X game, or a brand new Mega Man sub-series, or, you know, stuff like that. Like, I got ideas. I got a lot of ideas. It's just, how much time do I have to pull something like that off is a different question. I think I really want to do my own classic game, because I think right now that's perhaps the one that might be most doable in terms of workload. And also I have some really interesting ideas that I want to introduce that I think would be really cool for the overall franchise. But those are a secret for now. I don't want to spoil that surprise. But I definitely have some ideas for sure. And definitely stuff that I'm not seeing other fan games do in multiple ways. But did I misspell that? Particle with 2 T's? What is wrong with me? Are you kidding me? That's funny. Particle. It's 1 T, right? Or am I crazy? Particle. Particle. I cannot believe I did that. That's very funny. I do that all the time though, because there's no spell check in programming, so you'll get weird stuff. Like Tim will be looking at my code and it'll be like, really? You misspelled this? And I'm like, and sometimes because I'm just not good at spelling, and I'll just legitimately think it's actually spelled a certain way, and he'll be like, no. Which is very funny because English is not his primary language, and English is my primary language. He's way better at spelling than I am. We're talking about fart tickle. Yeah, fart tickle. But yeah, here we want to add a scale here. So let's add a parameter. You can't really see it because it's off the screen here, but I'll bring it over here. I'll try to remember that you can't see my second screen here. And we'll say scale, speed scale? Or trajectory scale? Because there's different ways to look at it. You know, you could have a horizontal scale and a vertical scale be different. So I'll call trajectory. I spelled it here. Trajectory. Okay, trajectory scale. And we'll make that a vector 2D, that meaning an X and a Y. And then if we compile that, we're gonna make it default to 1, 1, because we want a scale of 1, we don't want 0. Yeah, so let's save that, and that'll come in from there. And right now, I guess that might be the only thing we need. And it's going to influence the horizontal speed. So we have our min and max here, right? I don't know if it should influence both min and max. It should definitely influence max. So what I would do here potentially, oh, I hear the cat meowing at the door. You might notice that the cats haven't been on stream a lot, but I have to close it because the kittens have grown up a bit and they're in their rowdy years. And if they get in here, they start tearing things down and knocking things down. So unfortunately, I have to keep the door closed. Otherwise, they're in here messing things up. Trajectory is correct? Okay, good, thank you. I absolutely need to spell check because it's terrible. Let's see, get a trajectory. Oh, I have to do it from here. Get trajectory scale. I can't just pull it off of here because these are two different data types. So I have to split this and I have to add, no, not add, I have to multiply. Can I change it to multiply? I cannot. I'll have to recreate it. We'll multiply it times the trajectory X. So that's your horizontal. Now, I feel like we should also do the minimum, but for the moment, I'm gonna leave it unconnected. So you'll have a greater expansion of of that. No, I guess you should do. I guess you really should do that though, because it won't potentially go faster if you don't. Alright, it's starting to get to be spaghetti blueprint here, but I think for just testing it out, it'll be okay. Then we can make it pretty after. But yeah, because it's not going to potentially speed up. If you don't do the minimum, it could go as slow as it used to go and not faster. So you do want to scale both, I think. Otherwise, you won't always get a speed increase. You could get the slow movement of before, but I think we always want a speed increase. And that means the floor and the ceiling have to be moved up. And then from there, it picks a random range between the two, and it sets a horizontal speed. Now here, this one might get a little tricky. I guess the jump height min and max are going to have the same thing. But the time, this is the one I'm not sure about. I'm kind of reluctant to change the time factor here. So I think we're just going to start with, let me just do this here. I think we're just going to start with doing these. So same thing, multiply. We'll do the same thing here, multiply it. But we're going to use obviously the Y component of our trajectory scale, because this is now the height, the jump height. Let's move this over. Again, it's going to get a little spaghetti here, but it's pretty readable still, but we can fix it up after. Okay, so it's going to pass in a value of 1, so it should not have changed anything yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make, so there's that set sprite function and there's set trajectory, and set trajectory is currently getting set here, but we're going to take this out. It's not going to get set when we spawn the actor. We're going to make a new function that's going to be initialize, and this, we'll just spell it out, initialize particle. And this is going to also have, I'm not going to drag it over, but you'll see it here, trajectory scale, which is also going to have 1 as its default. And then you'll see it pop here. I just don't want to keep pulling you've already seen me do it once, so I don't want to keep pulling here, I'll try to realign my window here. Okay, that's good. And then we also want a sprite. And that's going to be a paper sprite. That's what they call them in Unreal. And there. So there's the two things. And we're going to set trajectory. No. What's it called? We could just drag it in. Set trajectory. Send it that. And then we want to set sprite. And set that. But then we also have to make one that sets a palette, which I actually don't think I have functionality for that yet. So I'm going to add it here just so when we have a enemy with a palette, I'm going to call it sprite palette. Paper sprite palette. Yes, paper sprite palette. That was something I made. It's not something that comes with it. And we will set palette. Anyway, just to kind of future-proof it here. And there we go. And we can make this a little bit. Oh, I do not like that. That was not good. Oh, we can move these together and make it a little more pretty. There. And so we're going to use this initialize particle instead of set trajectory and set sprite as separate things. And so we have, excuse me, we have, this is fine. These can be automatic. There's no reason that we have to do this in the other thing, and we can delete that now. And where we're gonna have that change is gonna be in the enemy base, I think. React to damage, final death actions here. And instead of doing this, okay, no, that's fine. Then we're going to set, oh no, sorry, initialize particle instead of set sprite. So we want to set sprite here, and we want to make this a variable. And I'm going to call it death particle trajectory scale. And again, we got to make sure, okay, it defaulted to 1, 1. That's good. And we'll be able to change this per each character. For each, well, I mean, they're still characters, but for each, excuse me, for each enemy. And then I'm also going to put a sprite palette, death particle sprite palette, and paper sprite palette as the object. Now, we don't have any enemies that actually use the palette yet, but it will be there, and when we need it, it will be here, waiting to be used. So, yeah, I'd like to kind of get them here. I like to line things up a lot in Blueprints, so you will definitely see me do things like this. And I think it makes it nice and organized. There. And there we go. Now, when we want to, like when we're setting up an enemy, if it needs to use a palette, then we'll just set this variable like in its loading phase or whatever, and we'll go from there. So it would just, if it needs to be used, it will be used, and if it doesn't need to be used, then it doesn't have to be. So that's it. And actually we have a different pool for palette ones too, which is interesting. Destruction part palette. There's only one destruction sprite. I probably didn't put the sprites in yet because I was still testing it, but what I would do is I would duplicate this, excuse me, and then make it ones with the palette. So actually this one, we can do that real quick. What? Oh, here, come down here, paste it down here. Yeah, please, can I, okay? Can I grab you? I cannot grab you. Why can I not grab it? It does this sometimes and I don't know why. Yeah, am I good now? Yeah, there we go, okay. Sometimes you gotta click around a couple things to get it to unlock. It just started doing that in the newer versions of the editor, so I'm not really sure. We'll call this one palettes. I do not know if it's going to take kindly to just replacing this. It should be okay. And this is going to have to cast to destruction particle palette. And that will get that function call. Yeah, sorry, here. Because this is a base function. All of them have access to it. So we can just replace this and away it goes. Yeah, and then we're gonna duplicate this. Destruction sprites with palette, and then we'll try to hot swap that for this. It's the same data type, so it should be all right. If you try to change the data type and you throw that into a for each loop, it will not be happy. It will usually just block you from doing it. And that's really it. So here, we're actually going to take the palette away because we don't want to send unnecessary data that won't be used, but we do want to have it down here. And that's it. Like that's all it took to add that functionality. Well, this thing's not part of this group. It wasn't pulling all the nodes here, and now it is. Okay, and we'll double check, make sure that this one includes all the nodes, and it does now. Okay. So we have all of them, and they're optional. You don't have to do anything. In fact, I'm gonna have to erase the data because I copied the whole variable, so it actually has the old data in it. So I'm just gonna erase those. And it'll be up to each configured enemy how, I'm just rearranging my windows. It'll be up to each configured enemy to know how to configure these. So most of them will just use the base sprites. But if they need the palette sprites, then they just need to fill that, and they'll have to fill out this information. And then maybe have a different trajectory scale. Like the big enemies might have 2 or like 1.2 or 1.5. You know, we'll see how that goes. And then each of them can do their own thing. So let's save this before it explodes in my face. And so now everything should be normal. We shouldn't see a change yet because it's 1-1, right? The scale 1-1 is just going to be exactly the same as what we had before. So hopefully things won't go crazy. They should look like they always had. And it looks pretty much like that. Including this character. Okay, let's just debug our way back up. Boink. Okay, and now we're going to do something ridiculous. We're going to make it like 3 times. And then we're going to see if it does something funny or not. So we're going to go into class defaults. Now we're in Chainsaw. That's this guy. We're editing Chainsaw's data now, and here that depth particle trajectory scale is there, and we're going to do 4x. We're going to crank it, and these things should be flying off the screen, going crazy. And this is just basically to make sure it works. The options. If we get a wacky result, yeah, look at that. Okay, they went really far. That also makes me think that we need to adjust the time for the particles because they went woo really fast. So I think we do need to change the time. Now I'm gonna wing this. This is probably not the best way to do it. But I'm going to just make it like half the scale of whatever we set it to increase the time factor. Because I think increasing the time factor is going to make it like really, really weird. So enemy base, no, destruction part. Yeah. Where is it? This one's, that's the normal one. This is the base one? That's the base one. And that's the palette one. So we don't need those two. We need the base one. Okay, so set trajectory. We are going to change the time here. But like I said, I'm going to do it in a way that it only multiplies it by half. Damn it. Yeah. So there's an easy way to do this. Pretty sure we can do this. We're going to do the multiply. We're going to add a pin. And we're going to do 0.5, so that's half times the y times the time, and then send it here. So that'll be half of the scale times the time. That'll get us exactly what we need. And we'll do it here. And because it's multiplication, you can do this in any order. So I can put the 0.5 at the bottom here, it doesn't really matter. Because when you multiply things together, all the factors will come together with the same answer. And there, and then let's add those to the group here so the comet block stays. In fact, I want to change the color of this. I hate that it defaults to gray. Not very bright, is it? There. Okay, whatever. Pinky purple. That works. At least I can kind of tell the difference between them a little better. So yeah, 0.5 times the scale times the time, and that gets fed into the max. I'm just taking a guess that it's going to work out to be about half the time is going to be pretty appropriate. So let's see what we get. Whoa, too far. Oh, gotta have to go back. Okay, there we are. And that was pretty appropriate. Considering that we cranked it 4x, that was pretty appropriate, I think. So I think that was all right. Yeah, that looked pretty appropriate. I guess the only thing I'm worried about is that 0.5 is going to take effect even if we send it a 1. So I don't know. I worry about that. I think that was appropriate when the scale is incredibly high. But I'm afraid because if you send this 1, then it's just going to actually have the time, and you're going to get half the time where it should be just normal. And I think that's not a good idea. The math doesn't work out that way. I think the effect is appropriate if you set it to 4x and they go flying that fast. I think that speed looks appropriate, but it's going to malfunction if you send it a scale of 1. So I'm trying to think of like an easy way to, there's probably an easy way to do this, but my brain's kind of not thinking right now. 1, because it's getting late. We're getting close to our 3-hour mark on the stream, which is when I usually call it quits. So my energy level's down and my brain's not working. But I also feel like if I knew math better, this would be an easy thing to fix. Because even if you pre-scale this and then multiply it, like if you just multiply these first and then multiply it against that, you're going to get the same result because the multiplication, no matter what order you do it in, is going to have that kind of effect. But I feel like you've got to... I think I have an idea. So let's say we do this and subtract 1. That's going to give us, so if we send it 2, we subtract 1, we're only getting the difference. We're getting that extra 1, right? And the idea here is we only scale this one by 0.5. Multiply this by 0.5. I know this is going to turn into spaghetti code real quick here. But then do that and then get rid of this pin. And that is still going to malfunction. Hold on. Right? Let's see. Well, if it's 0, if we get a 0, it's going to be 0 and it's going to multiply it by 0. If we send it 1, we subtract 1, it's going to multiply it by 0. It's going to be 0, and then it's going to multiply this by 0, and then it's going to have no time. So we need to check to see if the scale is greater than 1 or not. Now this is getting complicated. I'm really tempted to do some like BS unoptimized quick code here just to get it to work. But this really should be structured a bit differently. In fact, these should be done in like 2 different steps. This should be done in a separate step so that you could make a branch. Let's do that quick. We're gonna branch out here and then Then we'll come back. This is spaghetti for now, but we'll reorganize it in a minute. Because I know this is going to look like a nightmare. Like you've seen this in like Unreal Engine horror stories. Yeah, just no brain it. What we want to do here is basically check to see if this is 1 or greater than 1. So if this is greater than 1, then we're going to do the goofball, all this like extra stuff here. It's basically going to be this. This is going to be the true path. And we're going to save this as, yeah, promote this to a local variable. And we're just going to call it like jump time. Here, set jump time. And then if it's false, we're going to do a different set jump time. So we're still going to set jump time, but we're going to use a different formula. I'm not sure if this is 100% necessary, but this is how my brain's thinking it right now. And this is just going to be the easy version, right? We don't need to worry about, well, hell, if it's less than 1, yeah, if it's less than 1, we still want to multiply it. I was going to say we could just take the multiplication out, but we could have one that's less than 1. And this is only if it's greater than 1. But if it's less than 1, let's just scale it appropriately as it would normally be. And we'll get rid of the 0.5 modifier here. Because the 0.5 modifier is only for when we're increasing the effect, not when we're decreasing or keeping it the same. And that's it. That's all we need for this one. So then we split it off into 2, right? And what I'm gonna do here is move all of this out over here. And that will let us move this over here. It's still a little spaghetti, but we're getting there. We can break that link because we're just gonna call jump time manually here. Okay, and then this, we're gonna duplicate this for sure. Let's see, that's jump min and max. Min and max. And we'll have this one over here localized for this part. And then this can just come on down and feed these two. There. Still a little spaghetti, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So we want to move this out a bit more. And we'll bring this up in a second. This will definitely get moved back up to the top with the rest of the stuff. I'm gonna organize this. And then very important is that we need to join these two back to the main branch. And there we go. So let's move this a little bit more out and then we'll bring it up. And we should be good. And let's get everything in the category. There, look at that. We unspaghettied it. So here, pretty legible now. We've got the check to see if the scale is larger than 1. If it is larger than 1, we want to do all this monkey business. And we didn't finish completing this code, so yeah, we can move all this in line here and just put it like this. And then we want to remove that 0.5 because we are adding it into here. I think this makes sense. I feel like we still have to add the 1. I feel like we still have to add... We still have to add this. Yeah, like that. So we're adding it to it. So we're saying we have the base scale. We have the 1, but we also have to add half of whatever the increase scale is to that 1. And that's what makes it work. So we're adding anything over 100% gets scaled by half, essentially, is what we're trying to say here. So it's a little spaghetti. Little SpaghettiOs, but it's okay for the moment. If I was doing this in production, like not doing it on stream and trying to do it quickly, I would be commenting a lot of this and trying to come up with good names for maybe what these represent. Because like this is the same math here. You should probably make that a variable instead of doing it twice. It's inefficient to do that calculation twice. But since we're running out of time on stream, I'm just gonna have to go for it as is, and then we'll just do whatever. So okay, theoretically, Chainsaw, our little Roadrunner guy here, waiting for this to connect, but it's not connecting. Force it to resync. There we go. So he should look pretty much exactly like how he looked. Whoa, that's wild. That's not what I expected. That's interesting. Okay. Well, I pressed the wrong button. But okay, these guys are still set to scale 1, and they're not broken anymore. So that's good. Right-click math expression. Yeah, you could do that, for sure. There is a math expression node. I heard that they're buggy, though. I don't know if that's still true, so that's one reason I don't use it. And the other reason is that ultimately it just makes a macro of this, so you're not like, it's not really more efficient or anything. But, let's see. Just to show it, though, math expression. Sure, whatever. Will you just type it in here? So like say 1 minus 2? No. Expected token type. I don't know what it means by that. This looks different than I remember. Is it like this? What? Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure how to use it anymore. Yeah, that's it. That's the only option. I don't know. I'm not sure what it means by that. Let's just call it derp. Oh, okay, derp, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. Because I can't add it. Can I add stuff in here? No, you're supposed to be able to just type it in, right? You're supposed to just be like 2 times 5 or something like that, aren't you? I forget. Yeah, it's just a macro. Oh, yeah, you're supposed to hand type it, but how does that? Oh, wait, is it over here? Might be in the details panel. Expression. 10 times 2 minus 3, let's say. Yeah, there it is, there it is. I was just looking at the wrong window. My bad. But could you add variables here? But you could at least do the minus 1 times 0.5, but then... oh, it doesn't even like that. You have to put the 0? No, it doesn't like that? Well, that's wacky. You can't do that? Yeah, chicken times egg? Yeah, right. Space? Oh, I gotta put a space. No, don't like it. 0.0? Space here? No, don't like it. I don't know. Well, either way, honestly, I could just... Well, no, I can't combine it. I was gonna say, you could put a negative 1.5, but you don't want to do that. Because I don't think that would work out. You just want to subtract 1. You just want to get the normal 1 out of there. And it's fine. You think it's too simple to work? Because we're just saying we want to keep the 100% scale 1.0, 100%. We want to keep that 100% intact, but anything over the 100%, we want to scale that by half. So if I say 200%, I want the 200% to apply to these other factors. But when it comes here, I want 200% to actually equal 150%. Anything over the 100% has to be scaled by half. Because it seems like that seems to be an appropriate ratio for the time factor in the jump calculation. Right, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, times the hertz. Well, yeah, the hertz time, I just made this so it's more human readable to me. The hertz time, it just ticks in hertz. Because I think in frames when I think about it. I'm kind of old school with that. Sure, I could type out, 13 divided by 60 and put it into a float. But that's hard to edit because I'm going to look at that number and be like, I don't know what the hell this decimal means. So I have to multiply it back by 60 to figure out how many frames that was supposed to be. And then think like, how many more frames do I need to add or decrease and do it again? So I said, screw that. I'm making a struct that has frames. And that's fine. We'll key it on 60 frames per second, 60 hertz. I can change the 60 if I want, but that's going to be what my brain is always thinking because it's retro stuff. So it's just an easy way to do that. And this just converts the hertz to seconds. But yeah, so this should, if I give it a scale of 2, it'll do 200% on the speed and the distance of the trajectory. But I want it to, for the time factor, I want it to only be a half increase. So I have say 200%, 2.0 minus 1. So the 1.0 can't be touched because if I start having that, then sending 1.0 really means I'm sending 0.5, and that's wrong. That's just not going to get me the result that I want. I want anything over 100% to be scaled by half. So say I got 200%, we take out the 1 to get the remaining 100%, or say 300% to make it so it's not symmetrical. So I've got 300%, I sent it. I take out the 1 to take out the normal 100%, so I got the 200% additional that we're adding to it. Cut that in half, add it to the 100%, so that gives me 200% total from an input of 300%. And then times that by the time coming in. And then that's my min and max. And just do that on both sides. Again, I could cache this result somewhere here and do it, but right now I'm just trying to get it done quickly, see if it works at all. So that should work. That way the time factor will be minimized in proportion to the rest. Now, realistically, this probably should be its own variable coming in, but I think if it really does hold consistently that it looks good that way, it might be best to just keep that relationship and not make it a little bit different, because then you have to keep changing it every time, both of them, make sure they're in sync. Right, so we want to see if that works. Did we see if that worked yet? I don't know if we saw if that worked yet. This damn controller keeps going to sleep on me. I guess that's good for battery life, but... Okay, but maybe that's too slow? So does it not work? Let me think. Does it not work? Is it not doing what I think it is? We are checking to see if we're greater than 100%. If we're not, then we're just going to use the scale as is. And we use the 100% or lower. If the scale is 3, it'll output 4? Is that true? Let me think. The scale is 3. We minus 1, so we have 2. Half of 2 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. How'd you get 4? 1 plus 3. If it's the scale coming in, the input is 3, Scale Y is 3. We have 1, we put 1 to the side. We take the other 2, and we times it by 0.5, and that 2 becomes a 1. And then we have the 1 remaining here, plus the 1 is 2. Oh, I see exactly what you're saying. I'm sorry. I was thinking like we took a remainder from this, but we didn't. Okay, wait. We just want to add 1 here. We just want to add 1 at the end. That's all. Yeah, you're right. Because I'm thinking like I'm keeping a remainder here, but I'm not. I didn't do any. There should have been math to do a remainder, but you don't need to because we always know it's going to be 1. It's always going to be 1. So we just add 1 to the end. Yeah. That's you're right. It was adding the original, the full value of 3 plus whatever the hell this was. But I was thinking I was holding 1 to the side, but I'm not. Never mind. It's fine. Math is not my thing. I apologize. This will happen again. All right, have a good one. And thanks for hanging out. Okay, now which should be better. Okay, that's a bit more appropriate. That's a bit more appropriate. And then this guy set to 1, so he should look normal. Okay, alright. Yeah, hold on. Can I get through in time? Nope, we got stuck. Yep, there we're at. Okay, now let's set it to something reasonable like 2, right? And we can fiddle with the we can fiddle with here, like if it seems too slow, we can add like 0.75 instead or whatever. But yeah, let's change. I'm gonna change it. You can't see it, it's on the side. I'm just gonna change it to 2, just to see what it looks like. Cut the increase in half and see how we go. Oh, too far. I really should put a back button on that. That's not bad. I feel like the horizontal's a little too much, but the vertical's nice. So I'm gonna put the horizontal at like 1.2 and keep the vertical at 2 and see how that goes. That's nice. That's not bad. That's not bad. Because he's a big boy, so he's gonna... And maybe we could cut the vertical or the horizontal a little more. This guy should also probably blow up a little bit bigger, but it's these enemies that are kind of the standard size, and so that looks pretty appropriate. The scale of 1-1 looks pretty appropriate on these guys. I feel like the horizontal doesn't need to change much. In fact, it could actually be a little too much for those little guys. So I'm going to change the horizontal on this big guy back to 1. And let's see what that looks like. And we'll base it off of that. That looks pretty alright. We might adjust the height a little less now. So let's say we're going to use 1.5 for the height. And see what that looks like. And we gotta do it a couple times because it is randomized. So we want to see what the full effect here is. I think that's pretty good for a big character. I think that's more appropriate than the original 1-1 for sure. When exploded, they are transparent or they're blinking. Yeah, they're visibly blinking back and forth. I don't know if you can see it. If you're watching the stream at 60 FPS, you can see it. That they are blinking on and off, on and off, on and off. It's now the performance in the editor here is a little bad, so they're kind of a little bit inconsistent. But in a shipping build, they're definitely solid, a solid pattern. because it runs at a very consistent good frame rate and shipping. Like on the Steam Deck, the performance, we already hit a rock solid 120 FPS. And beyond that, I can't test because I can't get the Steam Deck to output anything more. But if we unlock the frame rate, it goes up to like 270 frames per second. Now, unlocked frame rates are not always a great measurement because they do get a little inconsistent when they get that fast, when they're trying to go as fast as they can. They do get a little inconsistent. So that doesn't mean that you'll get a solid 100 or 270 frames per second. If you could lock it at that hertz, you probably won't get a solid one of that. But it means that maybe you could get a solid 240. The enemy did a trippy thing? Oh, because he's going back and forth? Yeah, because he's trying to... He doesn't have any tolerance on his detection zone, so as soon as he gets to the left of you, he'll keep going back and forth like in one frame. Yeah, he gets a little goofed up by that. So I think the 1-1 is pretty good for the main enemy. So like that guy, look at Soshi Breaker, that's his name. They got such weird names. So he feels like he's going to be a 1.2 horizontal and like a 1.6 height or something like that, right? So let's see what that happens with that. Now that we have those settings, they're an inherent part of every enemy, and we can just put them in real quick. So these guys look normal. Oh, that's much better. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That looks very appropriate for him because he's a big boy. He's got a big ol' explosion. Yeah. That's gonna look really cool when we put his sprites in. That's gonna look good. And these guys will maybe be somewhere around the chainsaw, the little Roadrunner guy. His settings will probably be similar to that, but maybe slightly less. And then we can just, calibrate it per each enemy. At some point, we'll have some sort of convention that seems to happen depending on the size of the enemies. But for now, that's my gut feeling. Yeah, so it is randomized, so sometimes they'll be a little shorter, and sometimes they'll be bigger. So I think it works out. Yeah, I think it's good. I think we're just getting RNG low ones. Yeah, that one went pretty high. I think that'll be cool. Yeah, that was good. That was good. Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna need their own sprites. That's kind of what I was planning to focus on today, but that's not how it worked out. So we did adjust the positioning of these on here, but I also wanted to do him. So what we need to do, first of all, is to flatten this. Okay, I guess I just have to delete the layers. Okay, flatten it. And this is his neutral pose, right? So let's make a new file with that. And then undo all this. And we'll make a copy. We'll save a copy of this. So instead of his idle... Oh no, oh, junk parts, that's the thing he shoots. Let's see, broken pieces? I don't know. I'm not really sure what to call that. Broken pieces is fine, we'll know what that means. pieces. Okay, so what we're gonna do here. Yeah, less math, more graphical. I'm definitely more the all-rounder guy. You could control him with a float curve. That's true, you could. But I just reused the jump code from the characters and just threw it in. It's not so much that I don't want the high precision, but I think if you start getting higher fidelity jump curves in this kind of sense, I think that it will stop looking as retro as it does. There is sort of like a relationship between some of those simplicities of like trajectories of things and the way that things accelerate, that because they couldn't do it back then for the processing power or whatever, they just didn't want to put the whole super detail into it. There's a certain style of movement for objects on the screen that are inherently more retro. And I definitely want to preserve some of that. You know what I mean? Let's see. I want to move this layer here. Guide sprite. I don't know. I'll call it that for now. And we want to sort of center it here, so let me just turn that off for a minute. And one to the left. Okay, that's pretty alright. Okay, and we'll do it based on this. So I kept these sprites here so that we could potentially like pick them apart. And because Tim made these ones, and they are definitely like layered. Man, this is gonna be weird. I'm not even sure how I want to dismantle him, to be quite honest. But yeah, this is his standing pose for sure. Put flames on his feet and make like SpaceX goes boom in the sky. Well, I'm just thinking for like, I'm gonna obviously pull some of these parts off, right? So like, you know, we'll have this, and I probably want to have the back leg be the one here. So we're just gonna have to, is that this one? Yeah. So we're just gonna have to kind of reconstruct it a little, which is all right. It won't take very long. And just something like that. Because they're not really gonna see it much. It's gonna be flickering and kind of off screen. So we don't have to go too crazy with this. But we don't want it to be like inaccurate either. Okay, hold on. And we put it here. We'll, we gotta shorten it up a little. So that it looks like it actually fits on this here. Oh, it's actually a different height. That's interesting. I wonder why he drew it that way. Or maybe you just can't see it and it was never corrected. But that's alright. We're just gonna have to manually correct this. Something like that. There. That's pretty alright. In fact, we probably won't have the white part at all. Could do something like this. There. Good enough for the moment. I think I might have to shorten it again to get it, because this is going to be on the other side. So yeah, I have to shorten it yet again. There. That works out. Okay. And then we can get rid of this. And there's our busted ass part. Oh, no, those little bits there were intentional. I will leave them. Get rid of this. And then we will just fill this in, essentially. Something like that. That's alright, that works. And there, that's our... Now we're gonna probably put cracks and stuff in it, or like put holes in it. But that's the basic one. We might also like rotate it or something, but we just want to get the basic stuff here. So I think the big question for me is how much of this big container body is going to be retained. And whether or not the eyeballs will be part of that, I guess. I feel like you could chop this in two. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. So you could say that the bottom and the top are different ones. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take from his shooting frames. Because he's got like an open mouth, which makes a lot more sense for him blowing up and dying. This could work. This could work. Okay, this layer. This could work. So if we had, let's say we rotated this, yeah? Well, hold on. Let me take the eyeballs out first because they're not gonna be in there. But we took this, yeah, we rotated it. I guess that seems appropriate. Make it a little bit bigger. And maybe a little bit more rounded on the end. And then start carving out some bits here. Yeah, something like that. Kind of, we'll put like a crack in here, like he's blowing up. He's breaking apart. And a little bit of an uneven part here, and we'll use some darker colors to make that look okay. I'll put some cracks in here, like it's getting messed up, and smooth out that back end. That's alright. It's okay. Yeah, Aseprite, man. Aseprite's the best. At least I think it is. It's done me good. Man, it's such a big piece, but I think it'll be alright. And then for the eyes here, I don't know how much I want to chop off the end here, but the eyes should be something like this, I think. Like at a different angle. So like he's blown apart and like the bottom went one way and the top went another, you know? I feel like the eyes have to be kind of like cut off a bit. Like they gotta be smaller than the bottom part, right? So this looks okay as a start, yeah? I love Aseprite. I think Aseprite might actually be legitimately the best spriting tool out there right now. Like for real. I've had a lot of fun with it and a lot of success with it. Especially like with its animating properties is really nice. So here, it's gotta be cracked up. I should have done this before I rotated it, but I want the eyes to be up a bit because they're gonna get. Yeah, I'll take the damn axis off because they're gonna get. They're gonna get blanked out here. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. I'm on the wrong layer. Hold on, I'm gonna do that. They're gonna get blanked out here because that's it. Like the light is gone from his eyes. He's clocked out. It's over. It's so Jover for him. He's done. And I know it's kind of morbid, but I feel like there's no other way to really do this. I don't think that it's gonna look right if his eyes aren't like out, they're done, like glazed over. And get him a couple little cracks here, little spots where he's broken up. Yeah, there. He's beat up. He's busted. There, that looks pretty all right. That looks pretty all right. I just patch up like this little gap here. Yeah. Is it morbid the point? Kind of. You have to straddle the line in Mega Man Classic because it's still like a kid's game. It's still a children's thing, right? So you have to be careful with that. This one, I don't know if you can hear the cat meowing at the door. I can't let the cats in because the kittens, they've grown up and they're really rowdy and they just start tearing things down. And I don't want the things in here broken, so the cats are off limits for now. Which is sad because I liked it when they visited. I feel like this is gonna have to go in a little. It doesn't look quite as round when it's on the side there, you know? No X's in the eyes? Yeah, right. He's like, oh, he's gone. I don't think, because they're robots, right? So their eyes are like TVs, aren't they? So like they go out, the power's out, so their eyes are out, right? Or something like that. Poor robot. Poor son of a bitch, he's gone. X's in the eyes and everything. Okay, we're not doing that. We're not keeping that side. You know what I should have kept though? I should have kept no, hold on. Get the whole thing here. I should keep the arm part attached to it. And then like it'll be broken up a little bit, but then it looks less like a whole piece that came off, but an actual like functioning broken unit came off of it, you know? Like it got ripped up. So here would do something like this, and then it looks like it really got pulled off of them. And then the same thing here, we can put some cracks on him, so you know that he's been damaged and he's coming apart. In fact, I'm gonna take this whole section here and kind of make it dark. And if you leave the actual shape here, it kind of looks like it's been broken into, and you're seeing on the inside of it. You could even do something like this, and it kind of looks like it's been. Well, I think you'd have to do more here. It'd have to be bigger if you're going to do that, because then it kind of looks like you're seeing the inside of it, you know? But I don't know if I want that much of it to be broken. Because see, when you start intruding on it, it kind of destroys that illusion. What I probably will do instead is like break into it a little bit from the outside and then restore some of this. Not too much of it, but just a bit. And then I can kind of keep that shape there to it. I think this works out a little bit better because it's like a whole chunk. You still get a little bit of depth to it, but it's like it kind of pulled a chunk out, and then I don't have to carve as much off of the side here. And I think that that works out. I think that looks pretty good. I think I will pull some off of here and then make it look like it's been bent outward. You know? Like that. And then this can be kind of like this. And the split could go down this way too, but we do want to restore some of the light color here, I think. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Look at that, that looks pretty good. Hey, you know what, it's easy to mess sprites up. You just start degrading it and it looks like bent metal. It's fine, it's easy. Maybe some exposed wires? I don't know. I feel like adding... In some way, I feel like adding some detail that wasn't there before could just end up confusing. Because it's going to be moving so fast and it's going to be flickering that you won't be able to focus on it. And that's by design. You don't want the player to get distracted by these pieces. There shouldn't be anything that they should have to want to focus on with them. They should just be there as kind of like a light particle existence where it doesn't really get in the way of visibility. And they really shouldn't be looking at it, but it's just kind of a neat, like, whoa, you like, they'll see like, whoa, his like face fell apart. Whoa, that's cool. You know, like that's it. But that's, you don't want them to like study it or have to like freeze frame it. You know what I mean? You have to kind of like really straddle the line there to make sure that it's cool, but it's not going to interfere with anything. Oh, I must have did that. Oh, I did that in another layer. Well, that's fine. I'll just flatten them anyway. Yeah. Okay, then the only thing left is this one here, which makes sense, I guess, to do it this way. Oh no, it's got caved in or something. Blah, blah, blah. There we are. A little split here. Big old, oh shit. Big old, nope. What am I, what, I got the wrong, I got a eraser? I had a eraser. Big old crack there. I feel like it's got a, that's more like a hole, right? Yeah. Let's see, can we put something in the middle here? Will it look alright? No. We make it really sparse. We make a nice sparse line. Kind of like we're seeing on the inside. It really doesn't look like that. I would just leave a hole. I think that's fine. There, okay, good enough. So let's bring our guide sprite and our axis back. And our background, we'll make it transparent again. And now we're going to, well, call it sprites, and we're also going to get rid of these frames. We're going to align them, but we have to do it one by one. So there are 4, yeah, but we're going to add 2 more after, or 3 more. You'll see in a second, but oh yeah, and this has to be on everything. So we say, yeah, not that one, not that layer. This is roughly about here, and we're going to move them inwards just a little bit. That one's about there. You know, this one's kind of here. Yeah. I intend to animate multiple layers, so I'll be working on sketching the limb and accidentally click. Yeah, I do the same thing. And then I start drawing on the wrong layer and shit. Yeah, control click does just change layers, but I forget to do it a lot, honestly. Okay, and then his face roughly is about there, right? And then frame 1 will be the big old belly here, which that's it's a bit awkward, but I think that's pretty about right. And so the idea here is to have them roughly kind of in the starting positions of where they're going to show up when they spawn. And I think that should make sense. And then at the end here, we're gonna have 2 additional generic ones. And I'll be honest, I don't know where I saved them. I don't remember where I saved them. I think I just pulled them off the sheets that I had, right? Like, I just pulled them off in real time. Source material... X3. I had enemies. No, I do not want to load them as an animation, but I do want to load the second one. And I just put, because some of these have like generic little pieces, generic little bits of metal that they blow up into. And I was just pulling random ones that don't look like identifiable parts. Because there's definitely some parts like, oh yeah, this is obviously this dude's leg. Like we're not gonna use that. Or like that's that dude's eyes. But when you look at like this piece, that's a pretty generic looking piece, you know? So we could say, all right, we'll take one of those. And he's already pink. And that's where these ones come in. We'll recolor it to be more accurate in a minute, but I just want to pull the actual thing off first. This is a nice generic piece. And we'll look to see if there's another more appropriate one, maybe. This looks a lot like the first one we picked. That might be all of them. Did we look all the way to the bottom? We did. Oh, here's... That's a different, bigger piece. Let's see, what do we got? Is that first one still pretty big? Oh, wrong one. Yeah, we don't need that file anymore. We don't need that file either. That one's pretty big, so let's pick that small one. I think that's good. We'll pick that small one. Yeah, well, it's just the little pieces. That's the only reason that I'm picking them off the X sprites, because they're so small that kind of doesn't matter. All right, now let's recolor this thing. We might have to manually recolor this, because I don't think it's gonna end up the way that I want it. And we're just gonna have to... Yeah, alright, that's fine. And then the blue, I guess this is... We'll use the yellow here, because his eyes are visibly intact. So we'll use the yellow. There. So that's it. Those are the pieces. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, this is already its own file, so we're gonna save that. And yeah, I'll take this back again. Okay, just making sure every frame is filled out. It looks like it. Okay, save that, and we're going to export this as a series of images. So 000.png, and make sure that it is saving in the correct spot. It is. We want only the sprite group, all frames forward, and that's it. And then export. And it's gonna ask if we want to. Ping doesn't support layers, and that's fine. And then it also wants to know if we want to do this in a sequence of files, and we do agree to that. And if we look at that directory now, hey, there they are. All right. So I can hear the Super Nintendo explosion sound just looking at him. Yeah, it is like that. All right, I gotta check this file first because I may not have converted it over. Yeah, see, here's the problem with this free texture packer. It stores the files folders by as absolute folders here, file paths, and I want to change them to relative file paths because these files don't always exist anymore. And the save, I think I just do ... and that means the same directory, I think. Or no, wait, dot and then I think it's that. I think that means same directory. And then the same thing down here. Oh wait, but they're different, right? Hold on, I don't know. Do I have to do the double? You know what? We're just gonna look at the other file I did, just to be sure that we're doing it correctly. Because I already did chainsaws. So let's see, what did I do here? Oh, it is a double. It's a double backslash, a dot and a double backslash. And in the folders, I just did normal. So a dot and a double backslash. Okay. And the save path is already that. Okay, save path is that, and then those look good. Okay, I think we're all right. I guess we could just manually add the pieces here, and then we don't have to add it when we load the file. And that should be okay. And then if we open this, it should automatically... It has not. Oh, I spelled it wrong. That's why. PIE, I think. Which I don't know, maybe that's the wrong spelling? Oh, broken pieces, sorry. I did spell it wrong, but it was also broken pieces. Okay, let's try it now. Yeah, and there it is, it picked it up. And then we can see on this sheet that those pieces are there now. Okay, and then we're gonna export it. It's gonna say you want to replace files, which is fine because it's replacing this. And this basically puts it in a real engine format. And then we will go to GSQ. His sprites are in this folder. And we're gonna drag in the new copy. It will pop this up and ask for like the source and stuff. I hit cancel, so because it seems to mess it up otherwise. So it's just import will override the asset, and that's fine. That's what we want. And now we can double check, make sure. Yep, it imported that correctly. And here's the frames, which I guess if we, yeah, we look here. And, oh wait, I'm sorry, that's Chainsaw. That's Chainsaw. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm looking in the wrong folder. Oh, sorry about that. We're at GSQ. Okay, his texture came in, and here's his parts screwing around here, so. So then what we do now, because we already set up the code for it, all we have to do is just add those. Well, once it saves, we're going to add those to the array of junk parts in GSQ's file, which is not currently open, but we'll open it once this is done saving everything to version control. Oh, there we go. Okay. Now we can check out those files. The game is technically a team effort. I don't really have too many people getting their hands in on the code yet, but I do have it set up to version control, and that helps keep everything in line. And you can, when you set, I don't know if you, yeah, you can't see it because my head's in the way, but there's a little revision control menu down here on the bottom, so you can hook it up to your revision control right in Unreal, and it will automatically lock files that you're working on, so other people can't also be working on them at the same time, which is really good because blueprints cannot be merged. If two people are working on a blueprint at the same time, you have to choose which work to throw away because you cannot just combine them. It does not work like that. It's a little hairy. So you have to be careful with that. And that's why locking the file is very important. Because you do not want other people working on it at the same time to avoid that. Okay, so we're going to open GSQ's, whichever one is him here. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's the one with the... We were doing a test. We were doing a collision test. So I put this cube here. It's invisible and inert during gameplay, but it's kind of just a leftover from testing collision stuff. So that's his icon, apparently. It's just the big red cube, which is pretty funny. But we don't care about that right now. We want to check his class defaults because he has destruction sprites. And here's the test ones that I put in. We're going to get rid of that. And we have 6, I believe. So GSQ. And pieces 1, pieces 2, pieces, well, it's 0, 1, 2, but it would be the third one. 3, oh, I copied the wrong one. I'm just doing this so I don't have to keep typing GSQ in over and over. And there's the last one. So there they are, all 6. And we're just gonna save that and it should just work. Oh, we do also want to adjust the scale of the trajectory. And, well, let's look back at, excuse me. Let's look back at Chainsaw. Oh no, not that one. Not his sprites. We want his actual blueprint. Chainsaw's blueprint is BP Chainsaw. Now his scale is probably about what we're looking at. So like 1.5. Let's try a 1.35. I was thinking 3 or 4. I'll split the difference. 3.5. And then we'll see what he looks like. All right, let's blow him up. This next room will be a good spot to try it out on. Yeah, there we go. Eat shit. You big dumpster. Oh, he looks like a trash can to me. Yeah, how about that? Hey, now that looks pretty cool. How about that? Thank you, I appreciate that. Boom. Yeah, it really looks like the parts were really made for him, you know? I just noticed that it was saying this version doesn't support palettes. Are you using the wrong sprites? That's funny. Did I put it in the wrong one? No, I put it in destruction sprites. I put it in the right one. These ones, there's nothing here. I wonder... Oh, you know why? I know why. Because we were feeding it blank palette data. But it was just getting mad that we even dared to send it anything here. So we sent it blank sprite data, but because we actually invoked set sprite, I think there was like a debug message here somewhere that it was like, yo, why are you sending palette data? So what I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna put an is valid. And if it's not valid, we're not going to bother sending it. But if it is valid, we'll send it. And that should prevent it from calling that function if we don't give it anything useful. And then we should see, I'm just going to go the other way this time. I don't know if it's faster or not. It was probably faster to go the other way, to be honest. Yeah, okay, we don't get that error anymore. Yeah, that was funny. It was a good thing that I put that message in there, because if I did mix them up and I was actually sending it bad palette data or something, I do want to know that. Yeah, I think this looks good. And it looks appropriately, you know, the jump, or I call it jump arcs, because it's actually using the jump code to make those arcs. But I think the speed and the amount of oomph it's got is pretty good. I'm probably going to tweak them a little bit as we go along. You know, make sure everything's kind of truly, whoop. Screw it. I failed the jump. I should have to do it again. I can't be hurt though. See, here's the trick with this. If you hold back, or if you jump and then keep holding right, that gives you a lot of time to time it. I like to do it in one fell swoop because it's cool, but I sometimes don't make the jump properly. Yeah, it's looking like a real video game now. It's getting a little bit of polish. Of course, this is still the prototype. We're actually throwing this entire project file out and redoing some of it. I mean, some of the assets we can save and transport to the next version, but a lot of it has to be cleaned out because a lot of experimentation and testing and inefficient things have been put into here as we've been exploring. So we want to kind of cut all of that out and kind of start over and make sure that it's very efficient and running very smoothly. Yeah, got you. All right, so let's make the last thing we'll do, because it is late for me now. I know I started a little late, but oh, how come on? What's going on? Why can't I move the map? Okay, now I can move it. I don't know what happened. Weird. Like I got stuck in like a weird mode where it was zooming in instead of moving it. Oh, whatever. I'm pretty much out of time, so let's make a shipping build. Or they call shipping. They call it shipping in Unreal. And then we'll have, because when you play in an editor, the frame rate's very bad. But when you play it in a shipping build, the frame rate is amazing. And so I want to show it to you with a good stable frame rate so that we can really judge how good it looks. And it'll just take a minute and then we'll be ready. There it goes. In here, in this folder. And the music was on. Oh hell yeah, we want to hear the music? We'll hear the music. Let's hear the game music. This is a little test object. But yeah, notice, well, you can't see it because my head's in the way, but it's going at like 450 FPS. But I'm gonna put VSync on to stabilize it. So now it's doing 240. That should be really stable. Oh yeah, that's smooth as butter. I tell you, playing a Mega Man game at like 120 hertz, like 240 hertz, ooh, it feels good, I can tell you that much. Whoop, and I died anyway. Alright, here he is. Oh yeah, that looks good. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then basically we're gonna want to do all of the enemies like this. Yeah, this guy's got his own custom ones. Those look good. Yeah. I feel like maybe his are a little too forceful. Maybe we'll tone them down just a little bit. Like, it goes a little too high on the high end. Oh yeah, I can make that jump now with 240 hertz. There's no input lag. I can make that jump. Oh, that ladders are a little goofed. Oh, we'll fix it in due time. Oh yeah, it looks good. Yeah, look at that. And it's always slightly randomized, so it always looks a little bit unique. Yeah. And these guys definitely need their own big pieces there. Yeah, it's starting to look like a real damn video game. This is starting to get to the level of polish that I originally intended. So you're kind of getting a bit of a vertical slice, a bit of a sneak peek as to like how this is really supposed to go. Yeah. And then there's our placeholder. He don't do nothing. He just sits there. But that's all right. He will eventually get to move around. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it's working pretty all right. Here, you know what? Get scanline mode. How about that? Now it feels retro. I think the scan lines should be a little bit darker by default, but they're a little too light right now. But it still adds a nice texture to it. Yeah, it's starting to really feel like something now. Yeah, actually, those are good. I like the sideways tire. Really, that one really worked out. Really feels like he got messed up. Yeah, there we go. I can make that jump now. Now when the frames per second are stable, I can definitely hit that. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm speedrunning the level every time now. I know exactly how many hits to hit the enemies with. And all their little patterns. So like, it feels like I'm speedrunning it every time. It doesn't matter that I can't take damage right now. Because they realistically wouldn't hit me anyway. At this point, I played this level so much. Just trying to test things out. I'm gonna be a speedrun master by the end of this development. I have to play the original game a lot too to make sure that we're doing things, you know, right and respectable on it. Yeah, it's looking good. So I just want to do a couple slowdown tests here. So I put a slowdown option in the game so we could test things frame by frame. Yeah, you can really see how they flicker now that they stay in the screen longer. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's working good. Yeah, you can really see how the flicker pattern works and how the flashing and the hit stop works. It's easy to see the little turnaround frame too that we added. If you slide and you turn around, he actually does a little turnaround animation. It's really hard to see in full real time, but I had to make it really quick because otherwise it really interferes with the gameplay and the feel of it. But if you slow it down, like, you can see it, and you can cancel out of it, so you can instantly slide back around if you want. But it's just like a 5-6 frame little skid at the end of turning around while sliding. You get a little bit of that if you stop to slide early too, to stand up. You get a little skid. So it's kind of like evening out the effect of that on each cancel of the slide. Yeah, the charge effect looks cool in slow-mo too. Whee. It's fun to develop games because then you can mess with it and you can do your own thing and just kind of like play around with the time and just kind of, I don't know. So this looks really cool in slow-mo when you've got like real slow-mo, you know? Like, time is actually being slowed down in the game. It's still running at 240 hertz. It's just that each tick of the game is significantly smaller time. I think it's like 1/10. Yeah, this is 1/4 time, and this is 1/10 time. But they're helpful to slow the game down to kind of see what's going on. It's similar to frame stepping, but it's functionally different. But then I can say like, oh yeah, the flash is actually happening on the characters. The little hits, you can tell the hit stop's actually working. I mean, you can tell normally too, but it's kind of like, if you want to double check something or see like, oh, this flash is happening out of order or something, you might not be able to tell that at full speed. Come on. Whoosh. Yeah. Get him. Yeah, that is a regenerating block, so it just keeps spawning as soon as it dies, which is really funny because the attack will just keep hitting it over and over. Which I got a spot set up here to test that too. It's just kind of cool. And you can see all the particles and stuff. Oh, speaking of that, I actually put a little debug. Yeah, you can see that on the top right corner. I've got an active thing. So like when the charge particles, they're counted as a spawned object in the pooling system. So you see it's flickering between 12 and 13. The one is the crate there, the actual enemy. Mega Man is not part of the pooling system, he's just explicitly loaded, but any kind of object that needs multiple instances, they're definitely part of the pooling system. All the Buster Shots, you'll see the counter go up with the Buster Shots. All the Buster Shots, all the little particles, they're all pooled objects. So it can get, it's loaded 353. Which, if we reset the stage, it won't be that by default. It'll be 286. But I load in kind of like a predictable measure of like, oh, we're going to have 15 of these at once and only like 3 of these at once is what we expect. The pooling system will load more objects if it has to, but it will attempt to preload an expected range. But so see, now we've got 288, so a couple more have loaded in. But if we go and we do something like here, it's going to load in more particles than I predicted it to load, I bet. Yeah, so now we went to 291 because I had to load some extra sprites to make the particles come in. So for me, it's a good idea to see these numbers. So here, this one's going to go crazy. See, now we're at 330 pooled objects that have been loaded because we needed a lot more sprites coming off of the destruction than we're initially told to load. But again, it will continue to load new assets if it needs to create more instances of them. But if it can reuse them, you see now it's not going up anymore, so it's reusing the ones that have already been loaded. And you'll see that the inactive versus the active kind of tells you how many are getting pulled through. So it's working out good. Definitely working out good. The pulling the objects is one of the things that makes it so efficient to do this kind of stuff. It was crazy because in order to make a new object in Unreal, right? The system, it was, in order to load everything associated with that object, it was like half a millisecond or so. Like, it was a long time. It was like a quarter of a millisecond or half a millisecond. But in order to respawn an already loaded object, the way that I set it up, it was like 4 microseconds or something. It was incredibly fast. It was crazy. I remember posting about it. Maybe it was 40 microseconds, but even so, 40 microseconds versus like 2 millis or like 0.5 milliseconds, something is like a huge difference. So if you're destroying and instantiating new actors all the time, you're going to get a lot of lag. You're going to get a lot of frame drops when that shit happens. Especially like in this situation, I don't get a frame drop. You know, it stays solid. I didn't turn VSync back on, but so I'm looking at the average, like it's going all over the place because it's just uncapped. But now, yeah, 240. Yeah, not a frame drop. Even though it's spawning a shitload of particles all over the place. So everything here is a particle. The little like plasma effects that come off of the Buster Shot, like when they get an impact, that's a particle. Essentially. Well, I'm calling them particles. They're really animated actors. They're actually actor objects that have a sprite animation associated with them. So the little residual there that stays on the Buster when he's firing, the little muzzle flare, that's its own sprite. The projectile, its own sprite, and that when it hits the impact, that's its own separate actor sprite animation. And of course, we got the explosion. We've got the particles coming off when it explodes. They're all actors with paper sprites on them. So it can get pretty crazy. So that's a lot. I mean, that's 280, 90, 300. Oh no, I'm looking at the inactive. Hold on. Let's look at the active. So active goes up 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. So about 70 to 80 sprites just being spawned pretty much all at once. And it handles it like a champ. It's not skipping a frame or anything. Just whoop, it's just going. That's the power of pooling your actors. And basically when I deactivate them, when I despawn them, it goes through a process where it turns the tick off for the actor. And it goes through the components, and it'll turn the ticks off for the components. if they have tick enabled, and it will tell the actor to hide all the graphics. And it just kind of sits there. Oh, and it turns the physics off. It has to turn the physics off on the actor. And I think all the components too. I think it has to go through all the components to do that. But that takes less time than creating a new actor, actually loading and creating a new actor. It takes a lot less time. Because you have to reverse the process. When it spawns, you have to turn the physics back on. You have to turn the tick back on. You have to turn the graphics back on. But again, it's only like microseconds worth of time to do that instead of like, you know, a whole partial millisecond. So it's really, really doing a good job. Like again, we have a solid, on Steam Deck, solid 120 FPS, doesn't drop a frame no matter what's going on. And when we unlock the frame rate, it goes all the way up to like 250, 260, 270. So, and I haven't even optimized everything yet. There's still a lot of things that I can do to make this run faster. So we're doing really good on performance, like way better. We're doing better now than I thought we would end up at the end of the project, which is saying something because this prototype is we just slapped it together to experiment with stuff. There's a lot of inefficient things still going on here. Like the charge particles are using animation style that's like 10 or 20 times slower than they could be. And so there's like 12 of those popping up at any moment. So we could even make those much simpler. Most of the sprite animations here are using the slower, like the 20 times slower one when they don't have to. The Buster shots definitely are using the slower one. The muzzle flare is, and the impact sprites, I think, are all using the old slower animation style. The explosions are using the new one. And the particles don't animate, so they don't, the little broken pieces, they don't animate, so it don't matter. But we have to be a little more careful because that slower animation style can definitely start making things not so great. If we use that for everything, when it doesn't need to be, we're going to have some problems. And that's why I started implementing some of the objects having the better, like the explosions. There's a lot of explosions all the time. They have the faster, more simple animation style. And then, like Mega Man needs the advanced animation because he's got to have all little like adjustments in the sprite position and, you know, not being completely centered all the time. And he's got a lot of things, like he's got to have multiple sprites. So like the hand, you see the hand can come off and stay off. So he's got to have all the animation where the hand is separate and the Buster is separate and all that kind of stuff. He's actually like 4 different sprites in one that are being coordinated. Turn the music back on. Yeah, how about that one? If we look at Mega Man, just a short real quick, like he's actually made up of multiple sprites. Well, he's kind of screwed up because he's a palette. He's got a palette on him. Shit, hold on. Where is he? He's got a palette on him, so he looks a little weird in the editor. But there are distinct sprites, and I can show them here. I'll just turn the other ones off. So, yeah, we'll just look for sprite. Here they are. These are all of them. So I'm gonna just turn these off. Let's see, visible. Oh, visible. Yeah. Here's the normal sprite. You can kind of tell. Here's his face and his arms and all that. But we turn that one off, and then this is his shooting pose. All his shooting sprites don't have an arm attached because they are a separate sprite. So here's the hand, and then here's the Buster. And all those sprites have to be coordinated in animations, all at the same time. So when he's running, when he's running here, there's only one running animation. Where is it? Shoot and shoot. Turn. Am I just missing it? Slide, shoot, ladder. Ladder, climb, shoot, inch. A walk. I was looking for run, but it's walk. Hold on. I gotta open the sequence here. So you see his sprites. It's a little hard to tell, but the hand and the buster and the normal sprites are all animated at once. And what happens is I just turn off and on some of the sprites. So I have I got little groups, visibility groups, that I assign the sprites to. And I say, well, if he's shooting, and he's shooting with the hand, like elect beam, I think he does with his hand, for example, because, well, that's plain. Sometimes I'll shoot with the buster, sometimes I'll shoot with the hand, and I'll say shoot hand visibility, and it'll hide the normal sprites and the buster, and it'll turn on the shooting and the hand. Or if it's shooting buster visibility group, it hides them all and activates the shooting and the buster. Or if I activate the normal visibility group, it hides all the shooting sprites and just shows the normal one. But you can see that they're all here, they're all animated all at the same time. See right here? And then the point where it shoots, the mega arm shoot, the hand shoot, and the buster shooting point, they're all animated here. That's these arrows here. They're all animated along with the sequence. Now, not every sprite needs this amount of detail in it, and that's where you can use the more simple sprite methods. But all the enemies in Mega Man use this layered multi-sprite approach, the more advanced system, and that's how that works. I don't think I changed anything in Mega Man, so can I just revert him? I'll just not save him when I close it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for today. I'm running a bit late already, so that's kind of what we did. Made them explode into new parts and changed how the particles act, so we can customize it. So big chunky guys can blow up into parts that go farther and faster, and then little guys can blow up in smaller increments. So that's pretty much it. I'll be hopefully back next Wednesday if I feel good. I felt pretty all right today. Well, it's crossed midnight now. It's the 27th now. We started on 26th, but so March 5th then will be the next stream, as long as I'm feeling all right. Again, I had that surgery, and the recovery is going good, but it does make me a lot more exhausted than I might normally be. So if it's a bad day, sometimes I just can't do it. But we'll see. We'll see how it works. And that's pretty much it. So if you like what you see, consider checking out the Patreon that I have for me and my efforts for streaming and game dev and all the things that I do, commercial or otherwise. I treat all my projects the same. I put the same amount of effort and the same amount of passion into everything that I do, regardless if it makes me money or not. That's just how I am. Oh, the TV, the TV stopped. I wonder when that happened. That's funny. Well, I'll just turn it off. Unless that's it burned in the video into the side there. It must have got done with its thing. That's funny. Either way, yeah, the Patreon supports, obviously, my personal efforts in development. The multiple streaming on multiple platforms is not free. I do have to pay that out of pocket, and boosting the Discord server and just other little fees like Rider here, this costs money. I technically do, or have done, profit work for other projects in Unreal and otherwise. So I don't qualify for the free license, unfortunately. That's only for completely 100% nonprofit use. And I do consultations, and I do work for third parties, which, the surgery kind of put a halt to that for a while, obviously, because I'm not feeling that great. But I'm trying to get back into that anyway, so I have to pay for Writer. It is what it is. At least Unreal is free, right? Until you start making money, and then you gotta pay. But that's all right. I mean, that's fair, in my opinion. Boosting the Discord server. I have Nitro, not because I want Nitro, but because I have to have it in order to upload big files, upload builds, upload big assets, transfer lots of files, doing meetings and stuff over that, and then boosting the Mark D Wiz server. All that, is unfortunately not free. And I got a bunch of others. I have to pay for Google Drive because I got too many damn files on there. And it's all related to development. So that's what the Patreon money goes to. If you're curious, that's really the breakdown, honestly. It's just having the stupid subscriptions to all these damn things that I have to have in order to, one, work on the projects that we're even working on, collaborating and having server space for files and asset transfers and builds and all that stuff. They're just Discords, they don't give you anything unless you give them a few bucks. So it's all development related. And then otherwise, I guess it feeds the cats. You get your cat food, they get extra cat treats, with the extra money. So, it all goes to making all of us happier and healthier. And in turn, that allows me to work more effectively and healthier and all that. So, it all definitely gets used the right way. At least I think so. So that's at patreon.com/MarkDWiz. So check it out if you want to support. Otherwise, I got the Discord, which I said Discord should be link in the description below. And we're on the Hell site. We're on Twitter. I'm not leaving it. It's one of those things where I was here first. All right, and I'm not. My account will stay there until the whole site goes under. Then I don't use it quite as much as I used to for probably obvious reasons. I hope they're obvious reasons. But I'm on Blue Sky. I like Blue Sky. Blue Sky's nice and peaceful. Right now, at least, hopefully it stays that way. But I'm having a lot of nice, friendly interactions, and things are a lot calmer there. I'm kind of in my zone, just kind of the outside world nightmare is not creeping in quite as hard on Blue Sky, at least not yet. So I spend a lot of time on there. I post the same things as I do on Twitter, obviously the clips and all that stuff. But I tend to interact more on there. So that would be the place. I post a little extra stuff there. So go ahead and follow on there. I mean, you could follow on Twitter too, God help you, but, it is what it is. The game itself has a profile on GameJolt, GameJolt.com, so if you go on there, you look for Mega Man: The Rulers of Space, you'll find it, if you search for it. And so you can follow that, bookmark it, or, if you have an account there, you can add it to your favorites or follow it or whatever, however that works. And yeah, I don't know, there's a couple other things that I'm on, but you'll find it. It's Mark D Wiz everywhere. Just look for Mark D Wiz. You'll find me on everything. It's fine. Facebook. Nobody goes there anymore, but yeah, we're on Facebook too. So, yeah, that's all the shilling, I guess. So, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Hopefully, now that I got kind of the bugs worked out because I set up Windows 11. I know. As much as I've cried about Windows 11, I wanted to just see how it would work. and it kind of like activated itself. I didn't expect that to happen. So I'm just kind of running with it to see how it functions and see if it solves any of the weird issues that I've been having with Rider and Unreal, and unfortunately it hasn't. But there's some other things that work better and some other things that don't, and you know, I was intending to just kind of like set it up and dump it, but it kind of registered itself, so I guess I'll just keep it for now. I don't know. I think because it knows that the Windows 10 exists, but I think it just looked at that and took the license and registered it or something. So I'm dual booting with it now, like between 10 and 11, and it works. It's not harassing me. It's not telling me that I can't do it. So I don't know. I'll just delete the Windows 10 partition, you know, when it expires, and at least, you know, now that I'm running them simultaneously, I can kind of get a feel for what works and what doesn't. It really wasn't my intent to keep it, but it's already registered itself, so I might as well just let it go, I guess. So I can report more on how that's been next time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully next time everything went kind of worked out, so we might be able to start on time again, which would be really nice. And that's pretty much it. So I'll see you later, and have a good one, and I'll see you next week. See ya.